watching the vodka stream.
Fuck me, right?
And you still can't see the numbers!
Yeah, second Warner Brothers.
Grace!
And here we are. What is happening, guys? It is Friday. Thank God, right? All right, everything good? Do I look around, make sure everything's good here with the feed? How's everybody doing? We're here. We're Friday. All right, we're good. What's happening, guys? Already got my drink poured. Nothing special. Just the normal little, vodka and a splash of LaCroix. Vodka spritzer. Cheers, guys. Better than hard seltzers. That's for damn sure. What is going on? How's everybody doing? Hello, welcome every Friday. Yes, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that every button you can hit. Just hit. Just do it. Do it. We got Ryan. What's going on? Mr. Infinity and beyond. Good to see you. We got Mr. Fear Jason. Good to see you. We got Tony Movie Chappie D9. Neil Blomkamp fan. Love your name. Really do love your name. What's going on, Jose? Happy Friday. How'd the Dodgers do today? Freaking Giants killed the Marlins. That was nice to see when they lost. They got shut out last night. So what's going on, Selena? Hoi, hoi, Mr. Jason. Cheers, sir. Always good to see you. I know you're well into the future. Well, you're into your Saturday right now. I know that. We got Abel right here. Good to see you. Whoa, jump ahead, of course. Boop, boop. Are you going to be talking Top Gun Maverick? Oh, yeah. I think now that it's a week later, I think we'll talk. We'll probably, because it's just going to be a panel show. No guest tonight. Didn't book a guest, but, we'll have some people pop in here whenever they choose to. They want to be coming in. We'll have some discussions about Top Gun Maverick. I think, I think enough people have seen it. It seems like everybody has seen the movie and possibly twice. I haven't seen it twice yet, but maybe eventually I will. I don't know. But yeah, we'll probably talk some Top Gun Maverick. Why not? Happy Friday. Does anyone else have a certain Kate Bush song constantly playing in their head, right? Yeah. That like sailed to the top to like number 1 on the charts because of that episode of Stranger Things, episode 4. Yeah. I mean, it fits so well in that scene too, with everything that was happening. What's going on, Chuck? Good to see you, everyone. Yeah, have a good one. Yeah, we got Mr. Movie Watchman. How's it going? So what's the deal with HC Soups? Oh, Henry Cavill Soups. Oh, okay. I was like, HC Soups? What the frick does HC stand for? But there you go. Henry Cavill. We'll talk a little bit about that too. I mean, I talked about it. I had a little video yesterday kind of talking about it because obviously there was something that came out, and then I did a little more talking about it, a little more in depth of stuff that I was hearing on my Patreon pod last night. So anybody who's part of the Patreon got to hear some more of that stuff, and I'm sure I'll talk about it tonight too. What's going on, Aaron? Good to see you. Boo! Who are they playing? Crazy about the Phillies, though, man. They just fired like Mr. Joe Girardi like that. That was crazy. Let's talk. Yeah, we'll talk about that. This is, I mean, you want to take a movie that just did not do well and was not that good. There's a good chance there's something I actually want to talk about that when it comes to Morbius and this whole Morbin time thing. And I tell you what, I mean, it's taken on a life of its own, but I'm wondering if this could actually really be a good thing when it comes to that movie. What the hell is that? Jeez. So many people like driving in the apartment complex, bumping their bass, man. And it's like, good Lord. Finally saw Top Gun Maverick, best movie in years. Wow, best movie in years. You don't go to the movies that much? Is that what's happening? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really good. It's like when it comes to like a blockbuster movie, that's what I'm talking about. You put the stream on the background. There you go. Friday Night Mustache Reds. Yep. Still got it. Still doing it. You know, like I said, I'm going to keep my goose stash until Top Gun Maverick hits $1 billion, which it crossed $400 million today. So going into the weekend, it's already at 400 million, over 400 million. So that means it'll definitely be across $500 million by Monday. So it's going to be interesting. And then we got Father's Day coming out next week, but we got Jurassic World Dominion coming out. So that might get in the way with it a little bit, but at the same time, I'm telling you, that's a movie that Top Gun's going to be a movie that people are going to take their fathers to. That's what I'm thinking right there. I just think it's going to have like a interesting little uptick when it comes to that. So the DC Insider with Scoopy Pants, was that who it was? Is that who they claim that DC Insider was? That was just so funny. It's like, well, a DC Insider. I even said it on the video. I'm like, it was like a DC Insider, okay. But at least there's been some conversations at least about that. And like I said, I gave some information myself. I'll talk about it more tonight because I mean, it's just kind of crazy what's happening, of course, over at WBD. But you know, it's just all been very interesting with the whole Flash thing. And like I was saying when I did the show on Tuesday, when I talked about how, you know, everybody's looking forward to Black Adam, but there's not a lot of talk about how the fact that when it comes to the reaction to the Flash, the test screenings to the reaction of Black Adam, that very much positive with the Flash, not as positive with Black Adam. Just very, you know, very interesting. But I mean, I'm sure Black Adam will still be pretty fantastic, but I'm just going, I don't know. This Flash movie we still got a year. That's what sucks. But what can you do? Chilling, watching the stream and picking out on Panda Express. Cool. I had Five Guys tonight. I know that sounded bad, but I just was feeling like felt like a burger. Felt like a good burger tonight. So went to Five Guys. Got that. What I love about Five Guys is the fact that you can actually, you know, you could customize your burger. You know, it doesn't just come like, all right, come one way. You could put whatever the hell you want on it. And that was just sounded good tonight. And it was absolutely delicious. So pig out on that Panda. Just wanted to say you were awesome and always keep up the awesome work. Yes, hashtag release the Ayer cut. Got to get those numbers up. Restore the Snyderverse, of course. Make the Batfleck movie. Thank you. Baseball rules. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. All right. Hello, Nikolai. Good to see you. Good to see you. And good to see you, Alamancantar. If I said your name right, apologize if I didn't, but thank you, sir. Member, of course. Seeing you right there. Love seeing all the members. Let's see. What did you have tonight, Carrie? You grilled some salmon and veggies. Wow. And some white wine. Look at that. That sounds like a delicious meal. Healthy meal, too. You know, got some salmon and veggies. Not too shabby. What's going on, accuracy? That's right. Dave being greedy, having Five Guys. I know. What can I say? What can I say? God, feeling that Black Adam will do good with the Flash. Will end up, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting with everything. I mean, I even heard more stuff today, too, just talking. And it's just, I mean, Flash is one of my all-time favorite characters, you know. Obviously, you guys know what Batman is, but man, Flash. And then, you know, when it came to the TV show, I gave it about 3, maybe going into season 4. And I just kind of went, all right, I think I've had enough with all that. You know, nothing against it. It's just, you know, it's just CW. You know how CW is. Just kind of, it just starts falling flat after a bit. And so then it was just like, all right, let's get this movie going. And we've been waiting for this movie for how long? We've just been waiting for this movie for way too long. And we're just waiting even longer. But then, of course, with all the different directors and writers and everything like that, and then just hearing things about it and talking with Zach's guys, you know, DJ and Brian Hirota. If you guys haven't checked out that stream that I did last year with those guys, that was an awesome stream. And I mean, of course, they didn't want to say too much about it, but you know, what I always say is the fact that those guys were done. They didn't want to do superhero movies anymore after what happened with Justice League and, you know, ripping that apart. But something about the Flash script brought them back. So join the stream. All right. But yeah, so it's just very interesting. It just sucks that we have to wait. We still have to wait. We're still waiting a year, man. Still waiting a year. But I mean, at the same time, look what's all happening with Warner Brothers Discovery right now. It's all just been crazy. The whole Toby Emmerich thing was great, even though he's not fully gone. Yes, not fully gone, but essentially he's he's starting to, he got a new position. He stepped down. I don't know if he was, asked to step down, possibly. So we'll see. But anyways, all right, we got the first guy showing up right now. Let's get him in here, Mr. Travis, sir. What is going on?
Not much. How are you doing, sir?
What happened to your hair? Wow.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, I've been waiting for a while to cut it, and before I had cut it just like a short length. But the only reason I did this because we had family photos. We got that for my mom's birthday, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna look good, stuff like that. And now I just look like I don't know what
you're like Hopper in prison, man.
Yeah, that's I'm Stranger Things. I saw me. You know what? I want to happen, but honestly, the main reason is one, summer where I live, they get really hot, but two, when I bike ride to work every day. So when I have the long hair is fine. When I have that middle and short hair and I take my helmet off, I just look like fucking Goofy from Big Comfy Couch. So it's just like I'm at a job where I work sometimes early, like 5, 6 a.m. So it's like I don't want to be worried. Like I just want to be able to shower, boom, and exactly, got that going on. So I will in the September, August time I'll grow it back out, but for summer I'm like, no, I'm just gonna cut it. I like to have a nice fresh thing. And hello everyone in the chat, it's good to see you.
Hello everybody, thank you for joining, Travis. No, but there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I remember I buzzed my hair, what was it, the beginning of 2020, I think it was, or 2021 actually. It was last year, beginning of last year. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if but when everything was shut down, could not find no haircut place was open. The only ones that were open were Book Solid. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy some buzzers and I'm going to do it myself. Famous last words, because it didn't quite work out. Got the sides good. And then I was like, oh, I think I got it. But the back is like impossible to do.
The back is the greatest fear known to man. If you're not a barber or anything like that. And it sucks because for a while after high school, this was my hairstyle for like 3 or 4 years, and the only reason I grew it out was to impress a woman. And then I did impress her, but then I found out she had a boyfriend, so it was worth no time at all. But the thing is that one, it's just like accessibly really good, but I was really good at shaving it and doing the back and the sides and everything. But then I got spoiled and I found a barber I liked, and I kept going to her, and now she got pregnant, she moved, so I don't have her anymore. I've always been hunting for a good barber, but because I had so many years of not doing it, I've lost the skill, because I have a whole shaver kit, because like for the charity stream, like every year someone's shaving their head, but I have a whole shaver kit. I have like 20 different guards, like all this stuff. I have like guards for the right ear, the left ear, but I've lost the touch. I've lost the touch of making it like look all right. So this, though, I know I could do. I'm like, okay, I'm just taking the razor, going down to 1, done. That's all it is. So, but
I mean, it was like it was funny because when I did it, I went, you know what? There's something kind of nice about this. I don't have to worry about it. Nothing. I mean, I didn't stick with it, but but it was nice for the time being. I was like, man, I even thought about it. I was like, should I keep this or should I do it again during the summertime? I don't know. I had very much contemplated. Like, I mean, of course, when I did it, it was like dead of winter time, but it doesn't get that cold over here.
No, and even that, people always would bug me like, oh, your head must be cold. You got a toque. You just put the toque on. It's good to go. It's perfectly formed around your head. And I'll say to anybody too in the chat, if you've never had a bald head, which sounds like innuendo, but really, if you've not had a bald on top of your head, shower and laying down on a pillow, there's nothing greater. A freshly shaven head laying down on a pillow. Oh my goodness, it is.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It's so good. It's so soft and everything like that. And yes, the chat is right. I guess I do look like Lex Luthor right now with the green light and the bald head. I didn't even plan that. The green's just for me to pimp my own Geek First brand, but I didn't even think. Yeah, I guess it is Lex Luthor and stuff like that. So,
totally planning to kill Superman with whatever kryptonite he is hiding underneath his desk right now.
Exactly. So. All the Geek First podcast funds go towards kryptonite and taking down that asshole known as Superman. I had it all worked out until he showed up and everything, and
Always ruining your plans. God damn it. But
Yeah.
now I got a haircut today finally, which was like nice. So I
Mhm.
was like, all right, good. I hadn't had one in like 2.5 months. And it was just getting to that point because something with my hair, it'll start like I mean, if it gets long enough, I start looking like Jim Halper from fucking The Office. It just starts flaring out over my
you get the
over my
wings, like
ears.
the hockey
Oh yeah,
boy
I get the bat
wings.
wings. Yeah. I started getting that. My hair is very wavy, so when it gets to a certain length, it just, it just starts going crazy a little bit. So I was like, all right. So I just went on my lunch break and got that. And then I'm still trying. I'm doing
Mhm.
the Top Gun to a billion mustache here, my goose stash here. So hasn't
to a
it's not
billion.
yeah. I'm gonna wait till it gets to a billion, and then I'll probably get rid of it. I don't know.
So what happens if it doesn't hit a billion?
I know, right? I'll just keep growing.
You'll wait till the DVD sales or the Blu-ray sales go up. You're like, well,
Right?
it did 20,000 on Samba. So
I'm
I
like,
think
wait a minute. Let's add it all up. Video on demand, everything. What is it? I know, right?
yeah.
Hopefully it does. I mean, if it does, then I'll still probably, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's doing well. I saw it last Sunday, and because I was on vacation, so we were doing a bunch of stuff, so I didn't have time to see it. And I saw it randomly. Me and the lady saw it like Sunday at 12 p.m. And when I bought the tickets 2 days before, it was us, and there's like some pockets of people. But when we went in, almost every seat was sold out, and it's like every age. I know you've talked about, it, but it's like every age as far as like older people, younger people, like kids that are like 12 or 13, like, and not even going with their parents, like a group of kids, just like, let's see what this. Because I also think there's like kind of a gimmick of seeing like an old nostalgia movie for young kids of like, oh, let's see what the parents are into, but. Doesn't matter, and then it's gonna have a good weekend this weekend, and then Jurassic World's out, and just like boom, the air just gets sucked out. But still, like
I know, but it is Father's Day weekend. That's
100%. Oh,
that's what's gonna help. That is
Mhm.
like, there's gonna be, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of like dads out there that want to go see, a bunch of fucking dinosaurs. So I think they're gonna be like, hey, hey, let's go see Top Gun again, Dad, or I'm gonna take especially if you have an older dad or even a veteran dad who didn't want to go opening weekend because it's a little too crazy, and even the second weekend might be crazy. So I'm really curious to see how it does Father's Day weekend with Jurassic World also out there. It definitely has the legs, but we'll see. I mean, it's definitely going to get close after this weekend. It'll be a 500 million for sure.
Yeah, because it's already at 400 million, and I think this one's good because it has like a lot of repeat viewing. It's just that classic summer blockbuster feel good in a way, but just like you feel like you're at the movies, you feel like you're having a good time. So I think it will have a really good run. I'm not sure if it's going to hit a billion, but I could see it getting really close. It's just because it has such a tough few weeks of you got Jurassic World, and you're right about that, but then you got Lightyear coming up, which is not maybe dads aren't going to that, but dads are going to have to go take their kids to that, not maybe have to, because like I'm a massive Toy Story guy. Behind me I have like replica Woody and Buzz's over there, but like that's going to be huge. And then you got Thor, which I think will do pretty well because Thor Ragnarok, that was a pretty big hit for the general audience. So you gotta kill her a couple weeks, but I still think it's going to do well. Like here, it only had one drive-in showing, and then like a few days before, they're like, oh, they announced like 4 more drive-in showings, and that's kind of rare here. And they had a thing where usually in our drive-in, I think it starts at like 8:30 the latest because I gotta wait for the sun to go down, and usually you get a kids movie and then you get the adult movie. But this one, they knew they want people to see Top Gun or want whatever, because Top Gun was first and Sonic was the one at like 11:50 at night and stuff like that. So they knew like, oh, they want to get the crowd. And I don't know how many kids are staying up to almost midnight to watch Sonic, but it's gonna do well. Yeah,
they're all hopped up on sugar and everything.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, yeah, you're right though. I mean, we kind of talked about it last week, but we didn't want to talk like too much about it. I mean, we all, not everybody had seen it too on the panel, but I mean, who knows? I mean, I know Steven and Scott are not going to show up today. They're on vacation. They're out of town from where they're at right now. So don't expect Steven or Scott tonight, but hopefully they're having a good time where they're going. But I don't know if Steven's seen it yet, but hey, there's Mama Film Junkie. Hi, Mom. How's it going? Good to see ya. I actually took her to go see it. She loved it too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, and it's funny too, because I watched the same week, and have you revisited the first Top Gun?
Oh yeah, we watched it for Geek First. Like a week and a half or 2 weeks before, because I actually hadn't seen it in a long time. Because I've always said that I liked Top Gun, but it wasn't one of my I watch this every couple of years and stuff like that. So it'd been a minute, but it kind of has that No Time to Die effect where I'm not the biggest Spectre fan, but No Time to Die actually made me like Spectre a bit more because it's kind of like you almost need them.
Played into it.
Yeah, and the same thing with Top Gun, where not that I dislike Top Gun, but I feel like the sequel kind of even makes the first one a little bit better. Like they go together such a good 1-2 punch. So yeah, I revisited not too long ago, and there's some cheese in there. There's definitely some cheese. There's some like I've said before, like you have probably the two movies that have the most sexual tension between men is Brokeback Mountain and Top Gun, because man, all these guys, just the way they're squaring off, it's like I don't think you guys have misread this situation.
Have you seen that Quentin Tarantino thing where he talks about that?
No, I actually haven't.
Oh man, let me see if I could find that. It is hilarious. I forgot where it was on some show. He had like a cameo on some kind of show. Let's see. And I think it was, and he just goes on this whole little spiel about about Top Gun and the homoeroticism that's in it, and it's pretty freaking hilarious. Let's see. Hey, here it is right there. I forgot. I don't even know what show it's on. Hold on. Let me see. Let's watch this real quick. This is pretty hilarious.
I've never seen this. I've seen like I think it was Tony Scott at some point. Someone had asked him like years ago about it, and he like fully embraced it. He's like, oh yeah, won all these like awards and gay magazines and stuff like that. Like, they had tons of fun with it, and why not? That's a whole nother audience. But
yeah, so here it is, right?
What's the film about? What's it really about? What genre is it? What like it's like the spine? The spine. Like,
maybe some movie.
I don't fucking Boy Meets Girl. I don't give a shit about that. Fuck Boy Meets Girl. Fuck motorcycle movie. No. What is really being said? What's really being said? That's what you're talking about. Because the whole idea, man, is subversion. You want subversion on a massive level. You know what one of the greatest fucking scripts ever written in the history of Hollywood is? What? Top Gun. Top Gun is fucking great. What is Top Gun? You think it's a story about a bunch of fighter pilots? It's about a bunch of guys waving their dicks. It is a story about a man's struggle with his own homosexuality. That's what I'm talking about, man. You've got Maverick, all right? He's on the edge, man. He's right on the fucking line, all right? And you've got Iceman and all his crew. They're gay. They represent the man, all right? And they're saying, go the gay way, go the gay way. What about Kelly McGill? Kelly McGill, she's heterosexuality. She's saying, no, go the normal way. Play by the rules, go the normal way. And they're saying, no, go the gay way. Be the gay way, go for the gay way. Right? That is what's going on throughout that whole movie. What is this party? Who are these people that make me sick? What is that? Who are you? Who are you? What is he wearing? Some kind of like dance jumpsuit, freakish little gaucho. Let's go to Spain and dance with our arms over our heads. He goes to her house, right? All right. It looks like they're gonna have sex. They're just kind of sitting back, he's taking a shower and everything. They don't have sex. He gets in the motorcycle, drives away. She's like, what the fuck is going on? Right. Next scene you see her. She's in the elevator. She is dressed like a guy. She's got the cap on. She's got the aviator glasses. She's wearing the same jacket that the Iceman wears. Okay, this is how I get this guy. This guy's going towards the gateway. So I gotta bring him back. I gotta bring him back from the gateway. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna dress like a man. All right. That is how she approaches it. Right. Okay. Let me just ask you. I'm going to digress for just 2 seconds here. I met this girl here. She's like floating around here. Now,
okay, so that's pretty much it right here. That's the whole spiel right there.
No, that's
and you better believe that's 100% Quentin. I'm not sure what movie or TV show that was on. I don't know, but I'm sure that was 100% Tarantino just going off.
They're just come here and riff for a bit, and that's exactly what he did. And it's funny because you got a few movies of those. Because I'm not sure, are you a fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street series at all?
Yeah.
So the second one is notorious for that, where Freddy Krueger gets trapped in this young guy's body. But if you watch the film, it's like an allegory for coming out. But when you talk to the writers and directors, they're like, we had no idea. We didn't write that way at all. And then when they're like, there's a great documentary about, there's actually two. And it's like, when you look at all the things, they're like, when you show us it, it's like, how did we not pick up this was like a story about a gay man struggling with sexuality? Freddy Krueger is like the closeted thing in him trying to get out. He's same thing, rejecting girls all the time. Wow. Yeah, and it's so funny. There's a really good documentary about it, and there's a few things like that in the 80s, and it's the whole thing is pretty funny.
Yeah, it's funny. And anytime I've brought that up, that whole explanation about that to anybody who's watches it, you just kind of go, "Oh my god!" I mean, there's like they just go, they rewatch it and they're like, "Wow, now I'm watching it in a different way." I'm like, "Yeah, it's kind of there." I mean. And then I always find it funny too, because one of the things I always laugh at when it comes to the original Top Gun, and it's not even, it's during the scene that you're not even supposed to laugh at. It's after Goose dies, that whole scene, and it's like it's the tragedy, it's horrible. But then the very next scene that you see Maverick, he's in the bathroom in his whitey tighties, like hunched over the sink, and I'm like, really? Like, talk about breaking tension.
And the film to me spends so much time in that moment. It's weird because you got Meg Ryan and you got now Rooster, and they look sad, but Maverick looks destroyed. Like he looks like he's the one that lost all of his life, and the wife and them lost like a brother or lost like somebody, like a friend or something, and it's so on him. And he's just he's in the bathroom, he's leaning against the door, and he is just struggling. Like he's having such a tough time. And it's fun when you get those kind of like double meanings. And because I'd always known, like I said, been a while, and I know always people made fun about like the volleyball scene of like, oh, they thought this was really cool, but it plays a different way. And I kind of just thought that was it. But when I rewatched, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of tension, and everyone is just so sweaty. That's something they did not do in the sequel. The first one, people are just dripping in sweat. It just no matter what they're doing, they could just be writing their name on a piece of paper, and it's like
and they're glistening. No, I one of the things. I mean, I love Hot Shots. Which have you seen Hot Shots?
Oh my god! Oh, of course, in Hot Shots Part 2. There's we have a trailer in the States, and there's like only like 5 DVDs there, and Hot Shots Part 2 those were 2 of them, so I've watched them so much. And the other one, have you ever seen Top Secret as well with Val Kilmer?
Oh yeah, with Val Kilmer. Oh yeah,
I love all those early ones.
No, but one of the things that I, even like rewatching Hot Shots, I rewatched it a few weeks ago, is the fact that I wish that they would have made fun of the sweatiness of Top Gun and all the fans. There were a shit ton of fans in the first one. Like you see, there's no AC apparently in 1986 Miramar, San Diego area or whatever the fuck, because there are so many. There's ceiling fans. There are just fans in the background, constant, all over the place in that movie. You watch it again, just count all the fans. You could have a drinking game about taking shots about how many fans you see. You'll be drunk by like minute like 5. Jesus Christ. But yeah, you're right. Like everybody is just so glistening. Everybody's just always, I mean, the baby oil and everything. And I love, I mean, going back to that volleyball scene, I always found it funny too, because, obviously Maverick is like going, oh man, I got a date, which is like, dude, bad timing. Why'd you decide to like start doing a fucking volleyball game before you're gonna go on a date?
You have to do something really important for your job, because like the whole gimmick is she's like, you better not be late. She doesn't really care. That's what it's revealed after. But at the time, he's like, I gotta be right on time. So like, why are you starting this volleyball game? You could do this any day of the week. Just say, no, guys, I gotta take a rain check.
I know, and he does it in his jeans.
Oh, I know. That's a bold play. You would never catch me playing probably any sport in jeans. Doesn't matter what age it was. It's like, no, that's not happening. First of all, grassy, and second of all, potential rippage, potential just I don't know. And it's so funny because I feel like Goose is the only one that looks like he's actually just there to play volleyball, where the other guys there what's Iceman's friend, what's his wingman, Slider. His flexes in the middle, oh my god, it's some of the most like Hulk Hogan cheesy shit.
It's funny. It's funny because that whole scene, I mean, you have Slider who literally is like making poses.
He's ready to throw down.
And then you got Iceman, who, Val Kilmer's in good shape, but he's not flexing. He's
just super toned.
He's shiny. Yeah, he's toned and he's super shiny. Then you got Maverick, who every time he looks at his watch, he's flexing too. He's like,
he's like on a cover of Playgirl. He's like,
yes, look at it. And then you got Goose, who wears like this shirt that's like, got sleeves to here. And he's just like, I'm the dad here. You guys don't have children. I'm a fucking dad. I'm the dad out here. I got the mustache and everything. So I'm just gonna go ahead and keep it, nice and I don't work out that much. I keep in shape. I'm skinny, but
I was gonna say, I wonder if that was a director's choice of you're gonna look more like the older dad one, or if he saw all these dudes with their shirts off, he's like, no way, I'm not like you can't put me next to these guys. Absolutely not. These guys are chiseled.
Like Anthony Edwards. I mean, there's like that. There's another scene where they're in like they all getting out of the shower. Of course, they're all they're just chilling in their towels and shit that. So I mean, so you see Anthony Edwards, you see him shirtless, and he's not he's just a skinny dude. So maybe that could have been part of it. Where it's like, well, everybody else is pretty much, they all work out. I'm just gonna go ahead, but I think that played into the Goose role pretty well because he was the comic relief, obviously.
And it humanizes him a bit more too, because not being the badass, you kind of not necessarily root for that guy, but it's like everyone knows a guy like Goose, and I think that's what that did good, because when you lost him, it was like, oh man, it hurts and stuff like that. Because if you could lose anybody, it would hurt, but if you lose Slide or Iceman, all of them are, a little pretentious, a little bit of a dick. Goose, he's the one you don't want to lose, and of course that's the one you lose, and that's why Top Gun 2, it's such a great setup of what they could do with that movie.
Yeah, which I thought they did when it came to the callbacks of Top Gun Maverick, I mean, I was, you always worry about, are they going to overdo it and whatever. And I thought they handled it very well. And then it was funny too, because after seeing it and then watching Top Gun again, I didn't realize that Jennifer Connelly's character was mentioned twice in the first Top Gun movie. I was like, what?
Marshall's daughter. Yeah.
Yes. Penny Benjamin. I was like, holy shit. So it is like, I just thought they were like, well, we're not getting Kelly McGillis back. She kind of, I don't think she'd even acts anymore or anything like that. So they were like, all right, we're not going to have her back. So we're just going to have another love interest. And little did I know going into it that I was like, oh, it's mentioned twice about her. Wow. Crazy. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
They got good chemistry. Jennifer Connelly's always been like a good actress, so like that's Connelly. And
she's aged so well too.
Oh yeah, and I love this week. It's just been the Connelly thirst week, where it's just like, look at this picture of Connelly from 20 years ago. Look at this picture, and it's just like, my god, like man, what? But that's the thing. Like at any age, what a gorgeous woman. What a gorgeous woman. Even right now, like just looking so good. But the thing is that with those callbacks, what I liked about it is I had seen it, my lady had seen it, but I also thought you could watch Top Gun Maverick and not see the first one and completely get it.
Oh yeah, you could.
They show little flashbacks, but they give you enough dialogue that you understand the story. And there's not too much you have to take from the first one. But there are some sequels where it really relies on it, and that's not a bad thing for all of them. But with Maverick being so far removed, when you get like a Star Wars, a DC Marvel, you don't have to, because likely the first movie was 2 or 3 years ago, right? So you probably should have seen it. And if not, you go watch it on Netflix. Maverick, 1986 or something it came out, right? Yeah. So it's like nearly 40-year-old movie, but they're smart because that's how you get new audiences in that maybe don't even know or haven't seen the Top Gun, aren't going to bother go seeing it. And I think that movie was made very smart, and they were very smart to hang on to it. And obviously that's a big thing with Cruise, like, you're not putting my stuff on streaming, but they were smart to wait around this time because look how much money they're making, and look at how well it's received. Cruise's biggest opening of his career, and he's in his late 50s, like.
Oh yeah,
he's still got.
No. I mean, I know, like when it came to like when the pandemic was, kicking into gear in 2020 and in 2021, it was like, what's the solution to all this? What are we doing? Obviously, streaming was going to be a thing, and Tom Cruise is old school. I mean, he even said it. He goes, "I make films for the big screen," and I guess it was revealed that he goes and watches like pretty much as he can. He's like in disguise, like fucking like he's Ethan Hunt, and he just walks out of the movie theater and just all right, and then gets into the black Lincoln.
Do you think do you think he's going back to those Morbius re-release screenings? Do you think he's making his way back?
Okay. So what's funny about this? All right. And, this is what was going to be a fun stream tonight, was like the fact that I knew I was going to be pulling up some stuff because this whole Morbius thing and what I'm hoping that this Morbin time thing does and everything is, hey, maybe we can actually get an alternate cut of this movie, because if anybody's watched this movie, it was cut to shit. We know. It was very much cut to shit. And the fact that, the fact that Jared Leto himself is even playing into it is freaking fantastic. I don't know if, did you see this video that he posted earlier?
Yeah. Are you showing it right now? Is that what you're
I'm going to show it right now.
I'll wait just in case anyone hasn't. But my jaw dropped when I saw this video, because there's always two routes. If there's a joke or a meme or something, you can go two ways. I guess three ways. You can ignore it. You can be shitty about it and kind of be like, well, it's people just don't understand, or you can kind of embrace it. And I think Jared Leto at times, he's a little pretentious. There's some things he's done in the past where you're like, yeah, I don't know if I'd want to be hanging out and grabbing a Diet Coke with the guy. But when he posted this, I was like, okay, whether it's him, his team, his agent, his girlfriend, whoever it is, was smart to do this, because you're embracing the meme. That's the best thing to do right now, because why not? What do you have to lose? You get more conversation instead of, oh, Jared Leto doesn't like that people are meme about the movie. This was super smart. Super smart.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody was talking about Morbid Time, and then all of a sudden, it's getting released in 1,000 theaters over this weekend because of this, and then Jared Leto just drops this.
Nothing really. Just
It's so good with the curb music.
Perfect.
And it's funny because I was talking about with Taylor today because Taylor hasn't seen it yet, and he's like, "Is this movie like even worth the memes?" And it's so funny that I think we talked about this around the time when it came out because that was the last time I was on the stream. Where it's to me, it's not a top 10 or worst comic movie or anything like that. It's so weird though. Like this is the one that got picked. Like we're just gonna meme the shit out of this, and you would think. I feel like on the outside for people that haven't seen it, you must think it's maybe god awful. Maybe some people probably do think that, but it's just so funny that this has started, and I do not want a sequel. I don't really have much interest, but now stuff like this, like I don't know, they're starting to turn me because that just even that video of Jared Leto posting that, like I feel like now they might go into it because I'm not a big fan of the Sonyverse, but whatever, they're sticking with it. They want to make money. They're gonna do. Oh God, what is that superhero? I've already forgotten.
Oh, El Muerto.
El Muerto, yeah. So like they're gonna do all these things. They're not selling. They want to make money. So if they're gonna do this now, Venom is very over the top. It doesn't really work for me. But at the end of the day, if we had a Morbius 2 and they maybe even lean into some of this stuff, like I honestly, it doesn't go with the character. But if I was Jared Leto on the team, I'd say F it and kind of do like a Deadpool-y fourth wall breaking Morbius movie because like who cares? Why not?
I mean, okay, so this kind of like brings me to the whole Thor thing, because when it came to the first two Thor movies, it was like, all right, you had the first Thor, which I think is the best Thor in my opinion. It's great. Yep. Kenneth Branagh did a fantastic job.
Directed the shit out of that movie.
Fuck yeah! I mean, he brought Thor, live action, did a very good job. But then, Dark World came out, it was kind of like a little bit, so, and I think, Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios went, all right, this is kind of the weakest one of the bunch here. I mean, Iron Man's killing it, Captain America, Incredible Hulk, that was a whole other different situation with the Universal and all that kind of shit, but for the most part, when it came to Hulk in Avengers, he stole the fucking show. When it came to,
that's anybody. All anyone could talk about in 2012 when that movie came out. I was like, Avengers, but it's like this is the Hulk I've been waiting for and stuff like that, right? So
it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you're right because Thor was always to me in that era up until about Ragnarok, but Age of Ultron always felt like the lesser Avenger. Like no one talked about. He wasn't anyone's favorite Avenger for the most part, unless you're a comic book reader,
No, and then they decided, all right, let's just kind of almost basically make it a parody, and that's what Ragnarok was. And like, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan of Matt Ragnarok, to be honest. I wasn't a fan. I don't know how you feel about it.
So here's two ways, and I hate this because this has been such a meme that people use when the Spider-Man movies were coming out. When people be like, "It's a good movie, but not a good Spider-Man movie." The way I look at the Thor Ragnarok movie is, I actually the humor I like, it works for me, but I don't like it as much as an MCU movie. If it was by itself and kind of out of it, I think I'd like it even more. But I think the humor does hurt a lot of things in that movie, like Loki's turning arc and stuff like that. But some of the humor does really work for me. So like if I were to give people a barometer, I'm like a 7 out of 10 on it where I enjoy it. There's Hemsworth's just so damn charming. That's one of the things too. Like he can sell all those jokes really well. And the other thing, like I don't care. I love it to the end of the day. Jeff Goldblum's the Grand Master. Every scene he's in that movie, I just fucking love when he's just doing his stuff. So it's like there's things in that movie I really like, but it's more in like the middle bottom MCU for me. But I still like it. I would say I'd still give the stamp. So I'm on the other side where I like it enough, and enough people do. Like some people just fucking love it. So it's like, why wouldn't you keep doing it?
Well, that's the thing is like even though I didn't dig it, but I always would say, but they were smart what they did because they flipped it and were like, all right, we're gonna do this. It's gonna be loosely based on Planet Hulk. Yeah, it's gonna have it's gonna have all little things. We're gonna have Valkyrie showing up and all. And I mean, for one thing, the visuals, there's some damn good visuals in that movie. The Valkyrie scene is fucking the way that when they're telling the story and it's all like in slow motion, the way that's all going. I mean, like, and it's visually looks fantastic. So I mean, I'll praise it where it does, but I wasn't all about like all the big time jokes and everything. It just wasn't for me. But at the same time, I still go, Yeah, but it made it made $1 billion, right? So
Ragnarok, no.
It almost came
it was
close
to 800 million, and that's pretty good. Like the Thor, it was bigger than all Thor movies, and 800 million, close, pretty good. And again, it's just I feel like that was the most I'd ever heard people talk about Thor as well. So it's one of those of like, well, it's the same way. How maybe you feel about Thor is exactly how I feel about the Venom movies, where they just do not work for me at all. There's a few things I like here and there, but I can't be mad at Sony for pumping them out because those things are just making so much money. And there's people like that listen to Geek First that are massive fans of Venom, and I feel bad when I have to review them because I try to be as nice, but I just go, this is not the Venom I really want, but people like it, so it's working for them, right? And that's like comic books. There's different runs that work for everybody,
And that's, I mean, like when it comes to this genre, because there's so many of them, it's like you have to just lean into what works. Yeah, that's the thing. You really have to lean into it. And like, for the most part, I like the Venom movies, but I don't, but there's a lot of things where I don't, and I love Tom Hardy. He's one of my favorite actors currently working. And I know there's a lot of things that were cut out of that first one where I was like, God damn it. And I love the Venom and Eddie, back and forth. I think it really works pretty well. But then other things, it just feels like they just chopped the shit out of it again. But going to Morbius, it's just like, all right, it almost seems like I guarantee you, somebody right now, there has been this week with all the memes and everything like that, and now, somebody in a room with the writers are going, how can we capitalize on this? Because look at the numbers. Somebody crunched the numbers, saw the analytics, seeing all this, and kind of going like, all right, let's re-release it, which is like, okay, that's first off.
I'm so interested to see what it does. Like, I have laughed with people pointing like, what if it
coming out this weekend? So it does make sense. Yeah.
But what if it just like flops like a little bit more, but it's because again, it's like a why not situation, but it's bold. Like and also these are things we don't get to see, right? It's like maybe not all the time, like digital sales, things like that. I don't know if the memes and the trending is enough for them that they should go make a sequel. And I don't know if that's going to make the money, but at the same time, so like, if you were to ask me what's a better idea, making a Morbius sequel or like El Muerto, I'd say probably the Morbius sequel. Like there's other projects they've already announced. I'd say the Morbius sequel is probably a smarter idea of. And then if they do a sequel, they just kind of like we said, they should just lean into it, throw it out the window.
I guarantee you somebody's going like, how do we do a crossover between Venom and Morbius? I'm wondering if like that's going to be.
Oh, it's gonna happen. That Sinister Six movie is coming, whether I like it or not. It's happening. You want to do some good? Like and the good thing is with this Morbin time thing, like I don't think they'll actually call it that, but all you need is like a scene in the movie where Morbius is doing some stuff and just some random civilian says that to him in like a fun fourth wall breaky joke,
and he kind of goes.
Yeah, 100%. Right?
Yeah.
There's a way you can play into these jokes and you don't have to completely. Like if you don't want to go fourth wall, you don't have to do that. They just got to get, I think that's been the weird thing with the Sony movies. When you look at Venom, it's like, I think both movies were written by a person that did 50 Shades of Grey. Same thing with Morbius. It's like someone that did Gods of Egypt. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the Sonyverse, but for me, it's like, Sony, why aren't you going after some like good talent? Like, I guarantee you there had to be someone out there that is relatively like a good writer, like a Drew Goddard, like they did back in the day, trying to do Sinister Six.
Man.
Like, is there no one out there for this Venom Morbius movie that likes the source material, that has some success instead of like the Gods of Egypt's like writers? Like, that's what I wish they would just. That's why sometimes I just feel like the Sony stuff's trying to be a big cash grab, because you look at the names attached to it, they've never had too much. And I guess then you argue me, right, of like, oh well, 50 Shades, big franchise, but it's just like, yeah, it's just not exactly what I want for. But the
quality is not quite there. All right, we got Mr. Krypton Cage joining right now. What's up, sir? It's Morbid time. We're talking Morbius. I know you're enjoying all the all that,
Absolutely. I mean, look, I didn't hate the movie. I know that it was totally, badly edited and stuff like that. But I like the character. I thought it was, I thought his power set was good, and they made an okay movie out of it. But even after that, they, it kind of got butchered. Like some scenes, just
entire character arcs.
They don't make sense when you, follow the stuff like that. So yeah, I think the movie's not the best, but obviously I'm just loving all this meme stuff and all. And I've been saying for a long time that Sony should just embrace the memes,
Yes.
do a soft reboot on the character, just make him funny like that and stuff like that. So
well, what the best approach I thought, which was what they were going to probably do in the original Blade movie, is in the original Blade movie, they teased the Morbius character. There's a deleted scene from Blade, the first Blade, where, he's on a rooftop and he sees somebody in the distance and it's Morbius. He's out there, and it was like, all right, it was going to set up like, and maybe he was going to be the villain in the next one. And I think that would have that's probably a pretty good approach of like, man, can you imagine if, but then again, of course, Sony doesn't own Blade. It's all, it's God knows what's going to happen with that. I'm worried about that still, but hopefully something that actually was mentioned today by Rhett Reese about Deadpool 3 is the fact that he said Marvel Studios is embracing the R rating. I'm going, can you do that with Blade at least? Come on. He's killing vampires. Just do it. Any other crossover he does, make a PG-13, fine, but make his movie at least rated R, because those Snipes movies are great.
I was going to say, though, if
we don't know who
PG...
directed it, right?
Yeah, we do. He's a guy. He's only directed, I think, one or two things. He's more of an independent director, kind of that.
That's what they do. They bring those guys in, so then Kevin Feige can go like, oh.
But then at the same time, though, what I was going to say, though, like with PG-13, like, yeah, okay, that's Blade. But do you feel better or worse about it after seeing Doctor Strange and Sam Raimi? Because I feel like I'm the same point where like I would want to be rated R, but I just never bought that. I just think the only reason Deadpool is just because people would be super pissed if they did PG-13 Deadpool. So like, okay, we'll do that. I think that could be a good test because they might do other characters, but I think they'll do no. That's you're gonna be missing some blood in these MCU movies. It's gonna be a lot of plasma. It's gonna be a lot of vampires like evaporating into stuff. But Strange makes me feel a little better because there was some like they're trying to push it as much as they could for just like the horror aspects. I feel so.
And some people were like, "Oh my god!" They were like clutching their pearls, like, "Oh my god!" Yeah, they were like, "Oh, hey, just to let you guys know, it's pretty gory." I'm like, "Really? Have you watched any other Sam Raimi films? I mean, that's nothing." I'm wondering I'm wondering. I've always wondered when it came to Doctor Strange 2, what was something that they said no about? Because to me it seems like when Sam Raimi came on, I think. I'm 100% thinking that, okay, you have the name Sam Raimi. People know the name. People know the what he's made in the past. When it came to Kevin Feige what he was going to let Sam Raimi do, I think Raimi probably had in his contract, he was like, let me do my thing, okay? And then you can do your, the things that we need to do to connect the universes. Because, let's face it, at the end of Doctor Strange 2, when like he, and then like the eye shows up and then it just cuts to black, that is Sam Raimi 100%. Yeah. Then all of a sudden you get a mid-credit scene where he's like walking again. And then Clea shows up. I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's just ruined it for me. And like, because they had to do that because to further the
set
story.
Up the next thing,
Yes.
It's always the next thing.
One interesting thing that that recently came out about in a different interview, the Fantastic Four interview, apparently Feige was not overseeing this movie at all, and that makes sense because Phase 4 kind of have been like I know we have been enjoying Phase 4 because it's been experimental, less formulaic, and all that. So I'm suspecting that's the case because. Before Phase 4 happened, Phase 3 happened, and all that, there were very less movies, and they used to come out like 2 movies per year.
And you got shows happening too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now you have like 4 movies a year, and you have shows, you have all of that. So I don't think it's literally impossible. And even back then, when Age of Ultron and Endgame, Infinity War were coming out, even then Feige used to there were reports coming out that he has been very exhausted. Seeing everything and all.
Guy just turned 49.
Imagine
Happy
now,
birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine how it will be now.
Oh
yes,
yeah. And before too, he had like Ike Perlmutter, which was kind of a pain and stuff, and he had to share some stuff. But now he's had more creative control ever. And no, like what you're like referring to is completely right. Like Kroll, it was strange that I wonder what Kroll was up to, because it was like on a late Wednesday or late Thursday he put out those tweets about Fantastic Four, and he didn't run it as a story, which caught me off guard. It was strange, but he's putting out these tweets of like, yeah, Feige's looking for like a Sam Raimi type where he can kind of entrust the person, and that's what got me really curious. Because so how do you guys think Watts got hired? Because now I'm trying to think that they went to Watts, talked about Fantastic Four, and they didn't talk to anybody else. And now that Watts is gone, they're talking to other people. Because Kroll, if it's true, he was hinting at like this may not even be announced to like Labor Day or something, like a long time from now. So I feel like Watts, they just like, oh yeah, he's the guy. And then when he left, they're like, oh, we didn't talk to anybody. We got to find someone we trust. Because obviously they trusted Watts and stuff, but I'm really curious to see who they get for
Krasinski's
Four.
right there.
No, that's the thing. I mean, now it's like you already got John Krasinski, who's actor, director, and I think we kind of briefly talked about this last Friday, and I've talked about it before too. I think I've been asked the question. It's just like, does John Krasinski go, all right, fuck it, let me just hit this thing? You know, I mean, we always, it would be the first time that the lead in a superhero movie also directed it. I mean, obviously, at one point, Ben Affleck was going to do it.
Yeah,
almost did it. But at the same time, when that whole thing was happening, we kind of just went, yeah, that would have been rough for Ben to be in a 30-pound bat suit doing something and then going, all right, cut.
Can you send the dailies off? Can you send the?
Oh man! And then like, I mean, just to put that suit on takes half an hour or whatever the fuck, you know, and taking it off and everything. It would have been very taxing to him. Now, when it comes to a Fantastic Four movie, I don't think it took that long for John Krasinski to get in that jumpsuit. It probably didn't take a lot.
He might not even been in that jumpsuit. It might have all been CGI. To be honest,
that too. It could be just a mocap suit at some points. I mean, obviously, you know, knowing that his powers are what they are, there's going to be a lot of CGI. But you know what? I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. And like the whole John Watts thing was weird to me because like, the dude did 3 Spider-Man movies. And it was it was like the longest fucking origin story of Spider-Man that we ever got, because it was just like spread like with like what 5-6 movies, because you had Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame that essentially just like got Spider-Man to the end of No Way Home, where it's like, oh, he's now poor and nobody knows who and he's, you know, he's back to where he doesn't have Tony Stark's technology. He made a suit himself. This is the Spider-Man that we've all, and I, you know, and I respect the fact that they went a different route. I like that, even though I you know, Far From Home, I don't really like that much. Of course, I like Homecoming. I actually do like Homecoming. I thought that was a good little start. And then of course I liked him, you know, and I liked him in Civil War and in Infinity War and whatnot. And then of course No Way Home was just, you know, anybody who's a Spider-Man fan, it was just like, oh my God, you know, it was tears and just cheers and everything like that. But I think I was like, I always found it weird. I'm like, really? Like, why is he now going to jump to Fantastic Four? Because when it comes to John Watts, it almost seems like he's very much about a coming of age type story, because what is he doing with Star Wars?
Yeah, Stranger Things meets Star Wars. That's what it's been
described isn't he supposed to be doing some kind of, you know, I mean, well, I know he's executive producing the Skeleton Crew, right?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I think he might.
That's the one that's supposed to be like that.
Yeah, I think he's kind of like the Favreau of that show, where I don't think it's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna make 5 shows, but I think it's his sort of deal, and it's a group of young kids. They haven't said what they're doing, but I know just like there was rumors months ago, and that's what the show is described as: Stranger Things meets Star Wars, and not that it's gonna be mature rated, but just that idea of and he even said that Star Wars Con, where he said that Star Wars Con, I'm just making up things now, Star Wars Celebration, where he said that it's going to be a show that has kids, but it's not for kids, you know? So, and he's doing that Apple Plus movie with George Clooney and stuff. So
that I'm actually interested in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Casey, you're all about the Apple. What Apple's giving.
No, I just want to see what type of director he is outside of the MCU.
True, and that's the thing is, like, you know, he built his foundation of like, hey, I'm the guy who did these 3 Spider-Man movies, and I did that Spider-Man movie where I brought in all, you know, the other Spider-Man, and you know, they pulled it off, and it was and it's funny too, because after watching that, I think some of us even went like, wait, he's gonna just now move on to a Fantastic Four movie? Jesus Christ. And then sure enough, he walks away, and I went, that makes sense, because Jesus, he let the man have a break and do some original work now, you know.
look at those Spider-Man movies. Homecoming came out in 2017, and then No Way Home 2022. That's three Spider-Man movies in that span of time. That's a lot, and I do believe it because there was some conspiracy theories like, oh, maybe there's another director or something like that. But I could believe that he may want to step away. I also think that deal could happen at the time. Remember when Spider-Man and Sony and Disney, they had their little breakup for a while, and everyone was wondering where John Watts was going to go. And I could have seen at that point they would have been like, hey, we really want to keep you around. You might not get to do Spider-Man, but what if you do Fantastic Four? And if he could have agreed to them both, but then when they both worked out, and it's like, well, I'm going to do Spider-Man. And people keep saying it's like he's still going to do Spider-Man 4. So if that is on the docket, that's already another big project. And I liked his work before. I've seen both Clown and Cop Car. Funny enough, both have, young characters. Not the lead. Clown is about a guy who he puts on a clown outfit and then it sticks to his body and he slowly becomes a clown. It's a horror film. Wow. It's really messed up. Yeah. And then Cop Car, you should watch. It's really good. These two kids, they're just shit kids. They steal this car. It's a cop car. They steal the car, but in the back trunk, there's a dead body. And then who does the dirty car belong? Yeah, the cop is played by Kevin Bacon. He's the dirty cop.
That's right.
And it's a fun little movie. So I've liked his stuff he does before. And like Casey mentioned, I always love when directors do that because that's why I'm so excited for The Black Phone with Scott Derrickson because this is a guy coming off. He didn't get to do Strange. Every trailer I've seen looks great. The most of the buzz about it's great. So that's why I'm like, okay, I want to see. He didn't get to do this big budget film. He's going to pour everything into this, and that's only like a month.
And that's where
away,
he shines too. If you watch like Sinister, with Ethan Hawke also, and that's a fantastic movie. And even watching the first Doctor Strange movie, I mean, that movie is still when it comes to MCU and when it comes to origin stories in CBM. Altogether, Doctor Strange is up there, top 10 at least, in my eyes, because he did a fantastic job. The visuals and all the aspects of it, and it does make sense because maybe he just didn't want to play ball when it came to, well, I got to do this, do that, do this, and God knows what happened. Maybe he went maybe I'm kind of wondering because remember that whole. It's going to be PG-13 and you'll like it. Remember when Kevin Feige said that? I'm kind of wondering if Derrickson was like, I'm going to try to push it as even further. I mean, Raimi, the thing about Raimi is his horror element and even the gore there's something that Raimi does where it's comedic. It can be comedic at times, where it's crazy and whatever. But at the same time, it's you don't take it too seriously. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Even look at the finale, which has been so funny that Michael Waldron revealed that the zombie Strange was his idea, and Raimi at first didn't want to do it because he's like, this is just too close. Yeah, no, it wasn't Raimi's idea. He thought it was too close to Evil Dead, so he was kind of reluctant to do it.
And that's what I thought it was more Army of Darkness, to be honest.
Yeah. So when you get that, though, you look at it, and when I first see it, and it's so great, but this is going to be scary. How's this going to play? But then when he's giving that speech to America Chavez, it's all kind of funny because it's just you got this dead Strange who's moving in an awkward way. When he's talking, his mouth's slanted. So that's where it's he looks horrific, but it looks very Monkey Bone-ish. If everyone's ever seen Monkey Bone.
Monkey Bone, yes.
Yeah. When Chris Kattan comes back, it's fucking wild movie. But that's the thing where it has a slant of being friendly, welcoming. And plus he did Spider-Man. He knows how to do a superhero movie in that rating. And I would love one day, I don't know if Derrickson will talk more about it because it could be the horror. I also still wonder, my theories, I wonder if it was more the kind of Wanda multiverse stuff as well too, of okay, you're going to put Wanda in this, you're going to put the Illuminati in this, you're going to have these cameos. And the first Doctor Strange, it's kind of like Shang-Chi where it's very to itself. It's just a Doctor Strange movie. The MCU stuff comes later on in a post-credit scene, right? So there's always a chance he wanted to stick to more of that. And they're like, no, he's kind of an Avenger almost now. He has to be playing around with all these people. But again, Derrickson's been nothing but professional. He's just no, I'm going to do my own thing. And
dude, and you're right. I can't wait for Black Phone. That's one of my most anticipated movies of the year. When I saw that trailer and just Ethan Hawke, anything Ethan Hawke.
He's on a
I love
roll
that
right
guy.
now. Northman.
He really is.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Moon Knight, I was disappointed in the character a little bit, but his performance is great. I don't think he's gonna. I'm almost mad in Black Phone when I see how much he has the mask on. I'm like, oh, take it off. I want to see him act even more so. But he's gonna sell it even with just his eyes. But
I just love the idea of that. When I saw that first trailer, I was like, oh, okay, this is why. Yes, I want a horror movie that just original horror movie. You know, and then of course the premise is like this boy gets kidnapped, he gets put somewhere, and then ghosts of the other victims are trying to help him escape, and there's all that kind of, I mean, it's just, and then of course, like you said, Ethan Hawke and that mask too. It's just like, I remember I got in like a little debate on somebody with Twitter. It was like, oh, it just looks like Joker, like he's got a Joker mask. I'm like, well, okay, but it's not his real face. I mean, it's you know, it's just like, it's something like, I mean, watch the trailer. I mean, if you don't, I mean, Jesus Christ, shut up. But you know, I think like when it comes to Raimi, and I would say Burton, Tim Burton kind of has that aspect too, where he pushes that element of like, yeah, this could be dark and creepy, but there's something about it where you kind of go, yeah, but kids could watch this kind of thing almost. You know, you watch Nightmare from Elm Street, or not Nightmare Before Christmas.
Come on, kids. You ever
dude,
met Freddy Krueger?
We were just talking about it was in my head.
Don't worry, it's gonna be safe.
Yeah, Freddy Krueger, family friendly. What are we talking about? Jesus Christ. No, but if you watch like Nightmare Before Christmas, I mean, it's I watched the on Netflix the how movies are made, or whatever, that docuseries that they have, and they did one on Nightmare on I mean, it's not his. That's what's funny. It's like people think it's his. Yeah. He didn't direct it, but I mean, he did kind of like got like, this is like, he did have flavor. Yeah, he had his flavor in it, but he had somebody else that directed it, which you kind of feel sorry for that director. I forgot who actually directed it, because everybody just thinks it's Tim Burton, and that's what sucks. We can't even say his name right now. Yeah. You know, but at the same time, it's just because it did feel like Tim Burton, like he was really like trying to get this thing going, but he just ended up not directing it. But you know, you look at Beetlejuice or something like that, it's like, I watched that as a kid all the time, and there's some freaky fucking things in there really is, but at the same time, it's just done in a way where it doesn't go, you know, it's not like Freddy Krueger, it's not like Nightmare on Elm Street, where it's just like you have Johnny Depp get sucked into a bed and then all of a sudden a pool of blood just shoots up to the roof, you know, or to the ceiling. So yeah, well,
and look at, talking about Burton in that age, look at the Batman Returns controversy, right? That clip goes around every once at a time in a year, where it's the kids being like, I went to go see Batman and the Penguin was scary and Catwoman was scary.
Oh my God, I hate that clip so much.
And that, though, it's funny that it, like, we talk about social media, that made Warner Brothers not have Tim Burton do 3 because they want to go a different, lighter direction, right? And it shows like, even without social media, because people always go, oh, what would it be like if social media was around back then? It wasn't, but if something was still big enough like that, where parents were not happy with that movie, because that's a PG-13, but again, that's pushing it, because not even just with Penguin looking horrifying, just like the sexuality of Michelle Pfeiffer in that movie, it's kind of like the Batman, where a few different edits, you could probably get this over the R line if you wanted to with Batman Returns. Like, there's enough, like, anytime Penguin has ooze coming out of him, it's gross. Like, why
he bites a dude's nose?
Oh yeah, and it's squirting everywhere. Yes, and he's like making sexual innuendos, like very blatant sexual innuendos. But that's the thing, where he just like knew enough. Like, I think that's the one where he was just
trick.
And that's the one where he was just on the line. And I will say, because we didn't know his name, Henry Selick directed Nightmare Before Christmas. He also directed Coraline and James and the Giant Peach, which I actually quite like today.
He does all the
holy shit. He directed Monkey Bone.
Oh, well, there you go. That's, I mean, just full
it all
circle.
Comes together.
Full fucking circle when it comes to this, man, and talking about that. That's crazy. So apparently he has a niche where he's doing a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just weird stuff.
It's just weird stuff. But I mean, I would say that Raimi and Burton kind of just, they can toe that line of like, man, this is like horrifying, but they do it in such a way where it's like, yeah, but it passes, you know? It really does. I mean, when you watch I walked out of Doctor Strange just kind of going, I had a smile on my face, because I love Sam Raimi. I love his movies. And Evil Dead, the first Evil Dead, is my all-time favorite horror movie. I just love that. I love how bare bones and how ridiculous it looks and what he utilized. There are like shots in there. I'm going, how long did that take to do that 2-second fucking shot? You know, because he was using every little, and I just like that. And I've, you know, back when I was younger, I used to do short films, and you know, you just want to do that. It's like, well, how can I make a scene look really cool if I just drag the camera along the ground right here or something like that, or utilize this way of shooting something? And he really did with that first Evil Dead movie. And then, you know, of course the series went a little more to where Sam Raimi is now with, you know, when it got to Army of Darkness, it was like, all right, you know, now it's just like, it's comedy horror kind of thing. But But yeah, it's I don't know, it's crazy.
Third act of Doctor Strange is also very bold, like from the writing perspective. Like think about you pitching this concept of your main hero just sitting in a room for the entire third act, and he will remotely,
project himself.
Yeah, operate a dead body of himself, and then he'll have these soul of the damned rings and stuff, and that will be your main character who will defeat, who will help defeat Wanda in the third act. Like on paper, I don't know if 9 out of 10 executives would agree to that. So I'm
wondering what the struggles were with that movie, and everything that maybe Raimi wanted to put in there. I mean, but like I said, it was like that third act was just there's a lot of Sam Raimi that was in there, and it's just funny to hear that he wasn't all about the zombie Doctor Strange at first. So
yeah,
I mean,
because I thought
then he fucking leaned into it. He's like, all right, I got this.
No, yeah, you can find it because Waldron, he did a bunch of interviews after, and that was one still that caught me off guard. But at the same time, I want to know if there was issues, and if there was, how many. Because at the same time, I feel like after Endgame, the reason they're being so experimental now is they kind of just get to do a victory lap, and it's almost like if something doesn't work, they're like, well, whatever, we got all these other projects coming out, it's gonna make money. And sorry for some people that may not like to hear, but like with after COVID and pandemic, superhero movies aren't going anywhere. Those are the blockbusters. So it's like even the lesser ones, maybe not Morbius, but like the other ones, the rest, like the MCU, your big Flash.
What do you mean
Aquaman,
lesser ones?
yeah. But like Aquaman, Flash, like these other big tentpole ones, they got so much room to kind of fail in a way because people just want to see these big movies again. We went almost 2 years of not being able to see big stuff or not feeling comfortable to see big stuff. So it's just like they can take this route, they can take this risk, and Raimi at least has said everything positive. And all I'm waiting for is for them to announce him back for 3, because I really hope that happens. I would love to see him do 3 if he wants to. He said he wants to. So I know he keeps talking about Spider-Man 4. I think that's very less likely. I think him working with Tobey as Spider-Man again could happen in some multiverse way, but I just don't know if Sony. That's another deal I always want to know too, is while they're working with MCU, is Sony, do they have some agreement where they can't do a solo Spider-Man movie, whether it's 4 or Amazing or Miles Morales, because they're doing anything but a Spider-Person movie, except I guess I always forget Olivia Wilde has that Spider-Man movie announced, right? It's supposedly a thing that's happening, but we've heard no updates on that for
That's right. I forgot about that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
There's so many things that just get announced and then it's just like whatever. And then, obviously now with Warner Brothers Discovery kind of going like, all right, axe that, stop that. It's a tight ship. And, but I know, I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, but wrapping up the whole Morbin time thing, I mean, I'm like, Sony, just fucking lean into it. And they are. And Jared Leto is now leaning into it too. And I thought what he did on social media,
I love that video.
That video was perfect. I mean, it's perfect.
Jared Leto is someone who supported every single of these movements, from release the Snyder Cut, restore the Snyderverse, he said it, release the Air Cut, he said yes. And now this. He's
now Morbin time. Now Morbin time. The biggest.
I love how they are
all.
just asking, "What time is it?"
Just like a tweet of just him looking, and like that's what I always want to know for people that haven't seen this movie. If they think at one point, because there has been like legitimately threads of people screenshotting them, like, "Oh, the movie he never says Morbin time." It's like, yeah, no, he doesn't. I think the memes make this movie out to be like a lot more almost like Rocky Horror Picture Show, but it's not that. It's just like a average superhero movie.
The second movie should be like that, though.
It should be. Oh yeah, it should be. Musical numbers. Fuck, Jared Leto's a singer.
He's got a voice.
Do it. Fan of the Opera, Vampire.
Dude, they might
awesome.
Just like, how do we salvage this? And there it is. That's how you salvage it. It's like turn the whole fucking movie into a meme. I mean, it seems like when it comes like, going to the Venom series, it's like that wasn't taken too seriously.
No.
It's like, at certain points where it seems like even like with the last one, Circus was trying to do something, but it's noticeably chopped up, but it's, but when it comes to always like the Eddie and the Venom stuff, it was always like, don't take this seriously. Look at this. It's ridiculous. I mean, and I might've been like, maybe it's not always for me. And I think maybe it gets a little too ridiculous, but if it works, it fucking works. I don't have to be like, I don't like it, but for the most, if you're making money on it, by all means, go for it. That's why I said the same thing with Thor. Go for it. You know, if it works, it works. Not for me, but guess what? I'm just one person. You got billions of people out there that like it. So fine.
And I guarantee you now, I don't know again if making Morbius 2 means it's an instant hit, but there's at least these memes have made one, even if it's one or two people go out of the way to go buy a ticket or go watch it on VOD. The memes and the talk have probably made some people interested. Like, okay, I just gotta watch this thing. You know, like what is it about?
Are in on this.
Yeah.
Like, they usually never, get involved in CBM stuff on Twitter, and now they're the ones that are driving this more than us.
Dude, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, after the Snyder Cut stuff, I mean, that was all social media blowing that up, and now it became like a thing. I mean, it's fucking The Boys season 3 released a Bork. How do you say his last name? I always forget.
Bork. Yeah, I don't know.
Something like Bork.
He's a talentless hack either way,
Yeah, but I mean, like they decided like, hey, we in season 2 we kind of referenced a little bit already with that whole thing, so let's just lean into it. And they're totally doing it. Like the dude who plays that director, he's posting like vlogs as the director and just like talking about it. And you watch the first 3 episodes. Did you guys watch those 3 episodes?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I made the mistake. Because I tweeted it yesterday. I made my dinner and then I fired up that first episode. So I'm eating. And we all know what happens in that first episode. Jesus Christ.
I did the exact same mistake, Dave. I saw your tweet and then I started eating, and I thought, okay, maybe it's just blood. I can do it.
No, it wasn't blood. Not just blood. No.
It's because that happened. I won't say what it is for you who haven't watched it, but it happened, and I literally legitimately paused because I want to see. It's 13 minutes in. 13 minutes in. This like the craziest thing I think I've ever seen before. Like just as a comparison, because this is back to season 1. When you thought that girl that sat on that guy's face and crushed it was gonna be the craziest thing you ever saw, this is like that times 10. It was. It was nuts, no pun intended. It was just crazy. Like I couldn't believe what I was watching, and just this is probably just because streaming and stuff. It's like what they can get away with nowadays. If you would have told me 20 years ago in a superhero project this is gonna be happening, it's just like, geez Louise. It's just crazy,
I mean, okay. So I mean, in the past couple of weeks here, Travis, I don't know if KC has seen it. I mean, we've seen some disturbing stuff. You saw Men. You saw Men.
God, yeah.
You DM'd me after you saw my first reaction. You were like, did you see Men? You didn't see Men, right?
No, they don't release it here.
Yeah, so Men is still
it's a very limited release movie. So
Men is still top dog for the craziest stuff.
Cronenberg movie too. That released.
Oh yeah, they got that's coming out this weekend.
Crimes of
I don't know if I can I'm not you know what? I need to. I don't do good with the whole body horror stuff sometimes. Like I don't mind it, and Cronenberg's great. I mean, he's made some gems in the past, but nowadays it just looks so fucking real. Where I'm just kind of going. And if you watch Men, the last 20 minutes of Men, you just go, oh my god, you're just kind of going. I was squirmish. It's a good movie. But it's one of those movies you walk out, go, I don't need to see that again for a long time.
Yeah, it makes this boys scene look like chump change. Like it's
because the boys scene is like it's a lot of VFX, like a lot of
And there's some comedy played up, and Men, it's just straight serious. Like this is some of the most effed up stuff you're seeing in your life. But it's just like, Crimes of Future. I think like as bad as this sounds, I love the cast. I really want to see it. But I think that for me is like a perfect streaming, like sit at home movie. Like I'll wait.
I don't want to.
And also probably if it was out in a time where I know I'm going to see Jurassic World, I know I'm seeing like the next 5 to 6 weeks, I know I'm just like seeing a bunch of movies. So it's like, okay, I'm going to sit one more week out at the theaters. Maybe I'll catch us on a cheap Tuesday or something. But the next few weekends, I'm going to be seeing multiple movies coming out. So it looks very like slow moving too, so it's like, okay, I think I can wait to home at this one, but I hear good things, and that cast, like Viggo
I'm
Mortensen,
gonna watch it. You're right. I don't want to watch it in the movie theater. I think I'm gonna watch it when it comes out of stream. Yeah, I don't want to like sit in like my chair like I did with the last 20 minutes of Men going.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like just. Whew. And it's funny too because Wonder Meg, we all know Wonder Meg. She saw it last night. And it was funny, and you saw her tweet. Like she literally goes, "Finally seeing this," and then all of a sudden she quotes Twitter. They go, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, And then I was messaging with her going, and we were talking back and forth, she was like, oh my God. And we were just going through it. I'm like, yeah, I told you. I mean, cause I told her about it like when I saw it 2 weeks ago. And I was just like, man, yeah, was not expecting that. I mean, again, great movie, like great done, like it's a well done movie, very well made. And there was like an aspect of it that I only saw the first trailer, so I had, I didn't really know what the fuck was this movie is about. Not sure. It's just like that first trailer didn't really reveal much, and then when you're watching it, you're going, what? Wait a minute, what? And then all of a sudden, it just like you start going, oh, okay. You start realizing what it is, because a lot of, it's symbolic about a lot of stuff and the way people are and the way that it jumps back and forth between something that happens with this girl and then, of course, currently. But then, man, when it gets to this, the last 20 minutes, just prepare yourself. And again, I go, how is this not an NC-17? Because it gets that fucking crazy. I'm like, how did this pass to be an R rating?
They're very lucky. Even not even NC-17. I'm just like, he's so lucky. Like some studios, like, yeah, you can make this. Like it's just one of those movies where like, how did he kind of get this through? But it is something that. Oh yeah, A24.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
They're just like, yeah, dude, and that's the thing. Like, men, like if you ever see it, Casey, eventually, when you talk to anybody else that's seen it right away, like you're gonna start talking about that scene. It's just like, oh, you've seen Men. You're like, oh, what do you think about that ending? And right away you get into it, because someone on Geek First I reviewed with, he took his girlfriend to, which I wish I told
not
him
a date
not
night
to.
movie.
Yeah, I wish I told him not to, because I'm like, how'd it go? He's like, she fucking hated the movie. But
my God.
Either way, like that last ending too is just, men, at least Men, no matter what, I'm gonna remember it for the rest of my life, because
it's up there with Mother, with Midsommar, with Hereditary. I mean, it's
that's totally my jam then.
Exactly. So I mean, like I'm saying, there's a specific genre, and please let directors keep doing this shit. I want to walk into a movie and walk out with my eyes wide and going, what the fuck did I want that. Doesn't mean I'm like again, what we're saying here, it's still a very well done movie. Alex Garland's the shit. I love his movies, love his devs that he did on FX. He's a fucking beast. But it's just you almost think that they would actually appreciate that kind of review. It's like, wow, great movie, but I don't want to watch it again anytime soon. He's probably like, fuck yeah, that's what I was going for. I wanted to shock you that fucking hard. And I'm sure Mr. Astor and Aronofsky, who did fucking Mother, and who did Hereditary? Was that also Astor?
Ari Aster,
Ari Aster, yeah.
And Robert Eggers.
I think they want that. They want that, and I think even Robert Eggers gets to that point too. I mean, The Northman was very it was like one of those movies where it's like, whoa, like, man, you pushed it. It doesn't get to the point of these movies where I'm walking away going, oh my God, but I walked away going, shit, that was something unique and different. And he did some really cool shit in that movie.
I think obviously it's not to the level of Men, but I think Eggers did that with Lighthouse, because that's a super risky. Like, who's gonna there's no one really other than people that are my film Twitter friends that I can recommend that movie to, because like in my personal life I know you're not gonna like Lighthouse. Like because people always ask me it's Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, like it's a good cast, and it's like it's just not what you're thinking it's gonna be. It's it's just this guy gaslighting somebody for a while and another guy who wants to fuck a mermaid, and like there's no way you can pitch as like, unless you really want to see different type of film, this is just skip this one, and it's like at one point Willem Dafoe's on the ground barking like a dog. He's naked. Like, it's a fucking weird ass movie, but it's great.
The way you sell that movie is the performances, because both of them they put out. I mean that there's that scene where the movie's been out forever, so it doesn't like spoilers or anything. But when Pattinson's character is like trying to bury Willem Dafoe, and like it is like literally a whole monologue that Willem Dafoe has to do with no edits while he's getting dirt thrown onto his face.
Yeah.
And he's got to like I'm like, how did this performance not get nominated for anything? And Pattinson also.
It's a horror movie. Yeah.
So that's what it was.
It's people think that the Oscars hate superhero movies. No, they hate horror movies. They hate horror movies. Like same with Hereditary. Like I know it was like a big thing back then, but Toni Collette.
Toni Collette. Oh my God, dude.
How it didn't happen? It's crazy.
I don't know. It's really weird, but we got Mr. Ray coming in
sir.
right here. What is up, sir?
Ray.
There you go. Found your drop.
Hi.
Hi.
No, I'm popping my head in here for a second.
Okay.
The Oscars, they hate horror, they hate science fiction, they hate.
Yeah, they're not a fan of science fiction.
Basically, if it's not like, at first you have the small window of November to like late December that you've got to release your movie in, and then there's all the politicking, and I don't mean like politics. I mean like the campaigning for
lunch parties,
your movie. Oh yeah, and the gifts and the screeners, and thank you so much. We're presenting this for consideration and all that. Like there's so much like pomp and circumstance and just like general arrogance with the Academy with respect to anything like that. And so these studios are not going to forward the whole superhero thing. That's only been within like the last 4 or 5 years. It's only because Marvel became as big as it did. Otherwise, we still wouldn't be, and it's funny because like I think the only 2 superhero movies that have won above the line Oscars in the last decade or 2 have been DC movies.
Yeah,
and
Dark Knight and Joker,
and they've only that character, literally that character is the only one capable of winning Oscars.
Don't forget about Breaking the Speed Force. That's the 3rd one as well.
Yeah, there was that. Yeah,
not an official statue, but yeah.
Yeah. I know there's some people that claim that like, oh, did they get a stat? I'm like, no, not quite. It's just a fun little thing that they did, and
you guys think Batman will do? Get nominated.
No,
I am concerned about the timing. I feel like it's too far away because of when if it had stuck to its original release date, it would have had several nominations in this past year's Oscars.
I think it'll get the technical stuff as it does, but I don't. Maybe it
deserves it.
Oh yeah, and then I'm hoping at least it gets like a cinematography nomination because it should.
Yeah, that could be possible. It depends on what comes out. That's the other thing I thought hurt Logan too, because that came out in March.
Oh my god!
And to me, the fact that Jackman didn't even get a nom, I didn't understand that at all. Because
I thought there should have been. He should have been nominated for Best Actor. Sophie, what's her name, Best Supporting, and then Stewart should have been Best Supporting Actor, and then Mangold for Best Director. I thought.
I thought
was the Daphne movie King thing at that time.
Daphne King. Oh, Daphne. I thought her name was Sophie. I don't know why I said. Sorry, Daphne King. I don't know why I thought her name was Sophie.
The only thing I got was like an adapted screenplay nom, and that was it. And I was like, wow, damn, and
ridiculous. What were we gonna say, Casey?
Did they have the 10 movie slot at that time?
Yes, they did.
They did because that expansion happened. That's been a while since they've expanded.
That happened
the Dark Knight rule, 2009, because everyone was mad that it didn't get on. We're like, how can we change this? And now the rules have changed with that because it can't be 10 and stuff. Because 2017, I remember everyone was arguing that Logan should get one and Wonder Woman. Those were the 2 big ones people were trying to really push for because they had these big impacts, but it didn't happen.
Well, and then 2018 was Black Panther. They really that was when the best popular award, the best popular Oscar talk started, which is what eventually led into the Oscars fan favorite stuff. Because they wanted, and what it got nominated, I think Ruth Carter for costume design, and then I think there was a set design, and then I think Goranson. Did Goranson win?
He did win for Black Panther.
He won for so again, technical Oscars. I think we can count on some of these to win the technical Oscars, but like above the line stuff, like that's, I don't know, like I'll wait for someone other than the Joker to win an above the line Oscar because I just don't know that that's gonna happen. I mean, listen, if he uses the Court of Owls in the sequel, then let's see.
Morbius too.
Oh yeah, Morbius. Morbius. That's going to be a huge Oscar contender. We got Tyrese Gibson.
Fan favorite of mine.
Yeah. Tyrese. Oh man, they should do the fan favorite poll again.
Morbius would be a
Morbin
contender.
time to win. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I am enjoying so much of all the angst and all the people that are like legitimately angry.
I know.
that,
They're like, no,
that's-
don't go see it. What the fuck are they doing? It's like, all right, get the stick out of your ass. We're having fun here. Nobody thought it was like the best fucking movie ever, but we're just enjoying the fact that it's shining a new light into it, which
It's
is
getting
like,
a second
hey,
life.
yeah.
Listen, truthfully, if it leads to us seeing, you know, I mean, not. I want to see the like Tyrese's. I want to see the cut with Tyrese's.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping that it actually leads to.
Yeah. That's what what did Sony do before they mangled? Like before they mangled it, because it really
cut out.
Because it really just seems, and this seems like, you know, I mean, they made so many like budgetary decisions with it. Like you can tell just watching the movie. It's like, okay, no, you cut a decent amount out of this. So I would love to see what the original version of it was.
They've been cutting so much the past few years. Like we talked about that before with like, oh, wait, 24. Yeah, we'll see some men action there. But
hey, Jared Leto can do it.
A24 needs to do a superhero movie somewhere.
They're gonna add some. They're gonna do their own spin on it. They're not gonna get IP, but I guarantee you they're gonna do their own spin one day. It'll be more.
To do it.
There you go.
I feel like the A24 one's gonna be very similar to something like Glass, like something like that, where it's just people, but
or even like a Brightburn, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Brightburn. Yeah, that's a good
but
one.
like we talked about the Venom movies, we talked about how much those were chopped, and then remember Amazing Spider-Man 2, how much that got chopped up. Like we had a whole Mary Jane cast in multiple scenes that's just on the floor somewhere. So it's like like the past few years with their live action movies, they get, I don't know if it's gun shy or they just kind of take on a lot of notes like, oh, let's get rid of that. But there's a history, like a track record of these live action ones recently, not counting the MCU ones, because I'm not sure who's making those calls exactly, but with their own led ones, a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor for better or worse. So,
well, yeah. And as far as the MCU ones, like I don't know if Dave, you said this or I heard like Watts' original idea for No Way Home was different.
Oh yeah,
what they
I've
went
heard
with,
that too. Yeah.
But it's
Craven was right.
Craven was supposed to be like a villain or something like that. Yeah,
but
I mean,
unless your name is Sam Raimi, you gotta fit neatly into their plans.
Yeah.
You know, like
and then
that's
even
the nature of the franchise.
Well, we were talking about that before with Doctor Strange. It's like, you know, they gave, you know, Feige was, it was just revealed like he basically just let Sam Raimi do his thing, but all Sam Raimi had to do, you know, and I think Sam Raimi was like, hey, let me do my thing and I'll still play ball and fit, you know. That's why when you see that the last scene and it ends with Strange in the street and the freaking the third eye comes up and he cuts to black. I mean, that's totally a Sam Raimi ending. But then of course they had to do the mid credit and it just kind of I was like, shit, kind of just ruined the ending for me because I'm a Sam Raimi fan. But I got it because I'm like, oh yeah, they gotta fucking do this because it's the MCU.
We hired Charlize, she's here, we gotta shoot this scene,
and she looked gorgeous. So I mean,
the ending of the movie was it reminded me of Drag Me to Hell.
Reminded me of the Evil Dead movies too. I mean, you watch that first Evil Dead, it's like, you know, when Ash like walks out and the sun's coming out and he's like, it's like over, and then all of a sudden it's just like every time and you get that point of view of the evil, and then it just and then he just turns around and goes and then it just cuts and it's just like dun, 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 and it's just like written directed by Sam Raimi. It's like, yes, that's what he does. You know, so but you know, at least they gave him leeway for that, you know, so
so
we got to appreciate that.
Yeah, so I get that, but no, as far as like, so you listed them all off, but I was about to like get it because I was like, okay, well, basically add men to basically pick a day, watch Midsummer, Hereditary, Mother, and then Men all in one day and see if I'm still alive.
Like, did you watch Marathon? Did you watch Men?
I've seen none of these movies. I've seen.
Okay. You're like, you're staying away from those. Yeah.
Well, it's not that I'm staying away from them. I'm going to watch them eventually. It's just that I'm not in a hurry. It's one of those where like you hear people talk about each of them, and I'm like, okay, it's this weird dichotomy of. It was good, but it was fucked up. I'll never watch it again. And I'm like, that's not a ringing endorsement to go see it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it kind of is, because then you're kind of intrigued, like, why is it fucked up? You know?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. It was funny too, because it seemed like maybe not Hereditary, but Mother, Midsummer, and Men. I walked out And there was always like that. There's like that other person that was maybe there by themselves too, because I don't think I saw Hereditary by myself. I think a friend of mine came with me, so it was different. But all the other ones I watched, you know, Mother, Hereditary, and Men by myself. And it was like there was always like another dude that was there by himself, and it was just kind of one of those like you're walking out and you just kind of like look at each other like, what the fuck? You know, just kind of like, what do you think? What do you think happened right there?
That moment.
Yeah. And that happened with Men. There's one dude was just walking out, you know, and like you have the trash cans, you throw your stuff away, and then we just kind of looked at each other, and I'm like, and I just looked at him like, well, that was something, you know, kind of thing. It's like, you know, because it's just, my God, I mean, it gives you in, but again, I appreciate filmmakers just doing that kind of stuff, because that's what I want to walk out like that every now and again. I don't always want to walk out like I did with Top Gun and just be like, fuck yeah, man, let's do this. You know?
Well, and you know, I feel like maybe some people are either blissfully ignoring the marketing or they're like not paying attention to the marketing. Because what about that trailer or that poster or that title screams date movie?
Oh no!
Why would you? Like I haven't even seen the movie and already know I will be watching it alone by myself.
Yeah,
like,
you're not putting a fiance into this one, man.
No, there is no like what? Why? It's just
you
know.
Well, after I saw Mother, I told every mom that I knew, I was like, don't watch it, just don't, don't.
Mother, I appreciate Mother, because of that scene. I appreciate Mother because of that scene, because you know, a lot of filmmakers don't dare to go there because they'll get hated for it.
Oh yeah,
you know, for the rest of their lives. You know, how dare you do that in a movie and blah blah blah. But I just loved it because you'd never get to see that, and it's just awesome.
I'm telling you. I mean, like, and that's what I did. And then, you know, when it comes to like Midsommar, when I tell people, I'm like, oh yeah, well, if you're gonna watch that, I mean, it's about a cult. And they don't hold back. I mean, I always tell them, like, there's a lot of full frontal nudity. That's for sure. You know, when it comes to Midsommar. Also Men, though, too. There's a lot. I will say that, you know, if you're, anyways, there's a lot of stuff like that. But let's move on from the crazy A24 stuff, which please, A24, keep on doing your thing. I'm enjoying it. We're all enjoying it, even though like we're going, I'm not going to watch that for a while. When it comes to this week and Warner Brothers Discovery, I mean, that's why I titled this stream the Warner Brothers Disco, because it is it's like, it's a party and it's like, hey, you're invited, you're kicked out. What's going on? We got Toby Emmerich that stepped down. Of course, he got another deal, so it's not fully gone. But it's one of those things, because we've seen this before, and this is very much a thing that they'll do when it comes to these elites, where they kind of go like, you know, you step down, but it's almost like where it's like Zaslav's like, hey man, like you, but I need to make this place really doing good. And you kind of fucked up in the last few years. I'm just saying you fucked up a little bit. So I'm gonna give you this deal. You're gonna go over here, and then that's pretty much it. And we're gonna get somebody else, which I think Michael DeLuca. I talked about that on Film Junkie Live a few weeks ago. Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdi, if I'm saying her name right, coming in from MGM. Smart, because those two did great stuff over at MGM. And I think having a team, you know, not just having one person, I mean, at least having a team to run Warner Brothers, I guess, pictures or whatever Toby was doing. Obviously, they still need somebody who needs to run the DC studios or whatever, and stop. And people who keep saying that Deborah Snyder should do it, please stop. When I see that on my timeline, I'm like, she doesn't want to do that. Her and Zach have a good thing going. She produces this movie. I mean, again, and this is what I always talk about too when it comes to these movies. I mean, you know, we always talk about female directors. We never talk about the female producers, man. I mean, come on. There are so many great female producers that have produced some of the biggest shits. Yes. I mean, there's so many, and like when it comes to Debbie, like it's a perfect team of like Zach's the guy who's like, yeah, let's do this, and then every now and again she'll go, no, that's a little too much,
right?
You know, I always, and I always go back to like, you know, in 300 when Leonidas, before he kicks the dude down into the hole, and he looks at his queen, and she goes, and then he does, that's their fucking relationships. Like, she's not going to come in and run DC Studios. And I keep seeing that. I'm like, stop.
The fan casting for movies is one thing. Fan casting for studio executives, that's something else. And the same thing, I read because I didn't read the paywall. Casey, I think, were you the one that was sharing the Yahoo one?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because fuck the Raps paywall.
Yeah, you sent that to me too. Thank you.
So, like, the biggest thing, I mean, obviously the big thing in blinking letters for me is the idea of them finally treating DC as a studio. Like, he wants to hire somebody to be in charge of it. And, the scary part for a lot of fans, I know, is going to be the whole idea of running it like Marvel. But as we've talked before, we don't have an issue with the structure of Marvel Studios. The issue that we've always had, that any of us have had, like if Steven were here or anybody else has had about Marvel Studios, is their creative decisions. It's a subjective difference in terms of what they do. As far as how they run it, and same like you were saying, it's not just one person. I mean, it's not just Feige. It's also Victoria Alonso. It's also Louis D'Esposito. The idea of having a team and having the structure and just treating the IP as what it should be, which is the biggest IP that you have and one of the biggest IPs on planet Earth. In fact, if we're talking about it from just a point of like how many assets you have been in a position, and this is why Toby Emmerich should have stepped down sooner. It has nothing to do with, like, I mean, listen, all the bullshit that we aside and all the Snyder Cut stuff, yes, absolutely. From a business standpoint, he was a bad businessman, because you have a situation literally where for the last 14 years, Marvel Studios has not, until 4 years ago, did not have control of Fantastic Four, did not own the rights to the X-Men, and they still don't own the rights to Spider-Man, and they managed to build Marvel Studios into that using their C&D list characters from the beginning. Meanwhile, DC has everyone. There are no limits. They don't have to negotiate with Sony for Batman rights. They don't have to play nice with somebody else for Aquaman rights or whatever, right? Like, they have everybody, and they're still this, like discombobulated and everything. So no, the idea of finally treating it as more than just a division in your studio and finally making it a studio, that's like the biggest thing to me. That is like that's the thing. That's the biggest thing that I took out of the piece and was like, yes, finally, it's about damn time. There is a risk, obviously, because here's what's going to happen, guys. They're going to build DC Studios. The second they make a decision that a lot of people don't like, terrible idea, fire everybody, right? But to me,
they do.
It is a risk that I am willing to take. Right? It's the ultimate risk. Okay, you want DC Studios to happen. You want them to have their autonomy. You want them to have their own boss and make their own decisions and report to the big boss, just like Feige reports to his big boss. You want that organizational structure. But the risk is that they will make decisions that you may or may not care for going forward.
That's the thing, though, because like with Kevin Feige, he has the comic knowledge as well as the business side, right? Like the person who's coming for the DC, head, he doesn't need to have that. He just has to be a good businessman, and then he can, hire an advisor like Jim Lee or someone like that who can, co-create it with them. So I think that is fine, but like you, Ray, I just love that the role of the Warner Brothers Pictures chairman has reduced to just WB Pictures, and DC has just segregated from that. Now it doesn't mean that DC can just do whatever with the IP, but the thing is that they will have full control over the movie making decision. They don't have to keep asking for everything. That is if Zaslav isn't a super control freak, then that might be a problem. But I don't think he would do that, because there's no point in creating a vertical then if he's involved in every decision.
Well, yeah, and I in some ways, Casey, I'm almost I'm better with him being the control freak and not the head of Warner Brothers being because the biggest problem I think with how DC's been structured is it's just been a division under Warner Brothers. It's far too big for that. And
Toby still makes the decisions.
Right, and I think that the problem is that you had a guy who was in charge of the whole studio that was treating DC on the same level as Harry Potter and Dune. Like they're all in the same playground. No, they are not. DC is by far your biggest IP, and you need to maximize that. And so that's really why it's most important to get it out from under the wing of just being a division at Warner Brothers and be its own separate vertical. Period. So like you said, the autonomy can be there, and you're not having the person in charge of DC Studios doesn't have to worry about Dune, doesn't have to worry about Harry Potter, right? Isn't trying to balance all these other, all this other content that is these franchises that are not even close to the size of DC. The DC boss worries about DC, and that is it.
That's what they should. And then, when it comes to all this, and Zaslav, from what I've heard, he's a numbers man. Like he's a businessman. He's looking at all the analytics, all the numbers, and everything like that. And when it comes to DC, especially, it's like, there's a little bit of an issue here because you literally have 3 Batmen right now, but you have one that is 70 years old that came back, which is great. Cool, and nostalgia points and whatever for certain things, but there's not longevity there. There's not much there that you can really work with. Then you have basically a 50-year-old Batman who basically said, maybe I'll come back for some cameo stuff, but I don't want to do the full. And then you have your basic your Robert Pattinson, your Matt Reeves, but that's its very own thing. That's not going to be a shared universe. That's going to be its own thing. So it's like the Batman problem. Even though you have 3 Batmen, you have a Batman problem if you wanted to have this shared universe. And to me, I'm like kind of going like, all right, well, if you're the whole Henry Cavill Superman talk, yes, that was like some DC insider and all this stuff like that. But then, of course, I was talking with the person that I know that's in the biz and trying to get the information of, he's just like, we're just having conversations. And he goes, basically what Zaslav is trying to figure out is like, what do we do? Do we just start from scratch, or do you just continue on with what you have already with everybody? And that's a little bit of an interesting thing too. Even though like what Zach was trying to do, he didn't want to do what was happening over at Marvel Studios. He didn't want to do that. He was like very much, all right, I'm going to have this self-contained story. I'll set the foundations. Other directors can do their thing. And of course, people like Toby Emmerich and, other people just kind of fucked that up. But at the same time, he was very much like, okay, we got this. And they very much, there is a universe there. But obviously there's been some struggles, obviously with Ezra Miller, that whole thing, and then stuff that obviously with Aquaman a little bit too, but obviously that was a side charter.
Why? What's going on with Aquaman? I haven't heard.
I don't know.
The movie's still going to be released, I guess. Dude, like that is so much on the front burner compared to the Ezra Miller situation.
100%.
Oh yeah, But what I was trying to like really say is like, okay, so what Zaslav I think is looking at is going, all right, we need to have a universe, a shared universe with these characters, because that seems to be what people want, and it definitely is. So how do we achieve that? And I think like when it came to this DC Insider, which probably Scoopy Pants or whatever the fuck it was, basically it was just like it makes sense. And then, I've said it before, and the reason why we haven't heard anything when it comes to, Mr. Cavill Superman right here is like, his value went up. He knew it went up. He negotiated hard. Warner Brothers was like, no. And they clashed. And that's why we haven't heard anything, regardless of, certain fucking scoops out there that keep on saying every 6 weeks that says like, oh, negotiations are happening. Negotiate. No, they're not. Nothing's real. But when it comes to this whole structure changing and everything like that, there's a little light right there, because Why start over with the Superman when you already have a Superman who's Henry Cavill, who's very much a name now? When he was cast as Superman, Man of Steel, nobody knew who the fuck we didn't know how to pronounce his goddamn name. Cavill. We always like Henry Cavill. I called him Cavill for a long time until you found out it's Cavill. And now he's a name. He's been in a Mission Impossible movie. He has his own series on Netflix. His value has gone up. And he embodies Superman. You look at him, you just go, fucking A, that's fucking Superman right there. So why start over? It's like, it's not necessarily that you have to basically do like a sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League or anything like that, but you have that origin. So what is the best option? Build from just like, all right, we have this dude, he's a name, he's valuable. And if we do a Superman movie, we could do whatever. But we can have this loosely like in the back, like, hey, we have this origin story. Like he showed up on Earth. People didn't accept him. Half the people didn't accept him. Half the people did. There was a dude in a bat suit that wanted to kill him. And then there was like this nerdy dude, Lex Luthor, that wanted to fucking kill him too. It's all there.
You sound like, what's his name from Ant-Man? What's his Luis when he's doing the whole
Luis.
Like,
I know, right?
hey, there's a dude in a bat suit and you want to fucking kill him and he's dead and now he's back.
Hey, you know what? That's Michael Pena. We got the same last name and he has a mustache and I'm growing one right now. Hey, I'm trying to summon my Michael Pena right there.
This is Dave talking to David Zaslav in the boardroom. Okay, there was this and now
here it is. So what I'm talking about, man. I mean, this is what we're talking about, man.
And then Henry was in Mission Impossible and he loaded his arms and he did.
I mean, you got this guy. He looks like fucking Superman. That's I look at him. Yeah, I could totally do that. I'm still trying to prove that we're related somehow. Anyways, so you have this already right there. You have this, so it's like just build on that. Like, yeah, you have a Batman problem, but at the same time, you don't, because Matt Reeves building this whole Bat universe, which is a universe in it of itself. There's a lot of things you could do there. I mean, obviously there's shows and sequels that are going to be coming out. So keep that right there. So what I'm looking at is like, if Ben Affleck is still open to just be like, hey, I'll come in and still do the Batman thing, but I don't want to be the head of the whole thing. You could still probably have that and still still utilize. I mean, obviously, you still have Momoa, you still have Godot, you still have Ezra, even though that's a situation that's whatever. But I mean, look at what they're talking about with the Flash movie, and I've brought that up too. Is like not a lot of people are talking about. Is like the test screenings went 2 test screenings and positive. And then you compare that to Black Adam, which we're not that positive, and everybody's more looking forward to Black Adam. I'm like, why is nobody talking about the fact that, hey, this movie with this controversial star now is testing better than the one that with the star that everybody fucking loves. It's just a little weird thing. I mean, with everything that's happened, and then you got this Aquaman movie who has, a star in there, or a co-star that just went through this crazy fucking trial, and now that's all. And by the way, the whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, she's completely cut out now. She's completely cut out after the fucking trial. And like, that's not what I heard. And I guarantee you that what they're gonna do, they're gonna probably do a test screening with a cut with her in it and with her not in it. So I think they're going to try to test that now.
Remember there was a rumor that's what they did with the Batman, that they had a scene with the Joker stuff and they had it without it. So they've done that before it's happened.
If she ends up being cut out of that film, it will not be because of the petition. It will not be, and it will not be because of all of these like I saw, I tweeted about this yesterday, this TikToker, which TikTok is starting to become dangerous. But like this well, no, that's a valid point, Casey. You're right. But this TikToker who was trying to, like, he went full nerd QAnon mode and was suggesting that the reason Toby Emmerich stepped down on June 1st was connected to the fact that it was the day of the verdict, and they were harping on the soul searching, like the soul searching conversation that he had with David Zaslav, and they were saying, oh, he's got some soul searching to do. Well, perhaps an apology, and intimating that he owes Johnny Depp an apology, and that's why he was like, because Warner Brothers is making it right by Johnny Depp. And I'm like, no, you people are fucking insane. Well, that is not why. And it will be, if anything happens with her in that movie, it will be a business oriented decision. It will be based off of data. It will be based off of, like you said, test screenings. They're probably going to do exactly what you said, and whichever one tests better, that is the one they will put in theaters.
The thing with that also is that you already heard that her screen time had been reduced to like 10 minutes.
Less than 10 minutes.
I even have that, when it can hurt your movie. So it just makes sense to me that you either have her full on or just not have her at all.
I'm in the same camp that I don't actually think she will be in the movie. I think they're gonna whatever they'll test.
They're
it,
gonna
I
test
think,
it.
Yeah,
They
they're
have
gonna
time.
test it. But I think that when it comes down to it, if it is legitimately like around 10 minutes, that's an easy ADR line to explain why that character is missing, and you could bring her back in the future. I'm not sure if they were to kill her off, but
it's not like their movies are perfectly made. You can like some of them are choppy, and people just forgive it.
Well, and on top of that, if she's only if that's true, she's only in the movie for that long, then clearly that wasn't your focus for the movie, right? Like clearly, and from everything,
be a buddy movie or a brother movie.
Everything we've heard is that it's Arthur and Orm, dealing with Black Manta, and it's like, okay, fine,
And
whatever.
to me, that sounds great. I'm like, all right, give me that movie. Let's have a movie where you have the brothers kind of like coming together after they fought each other in the last movie, and obviously Orm was like locked away, and we saw the behind the scenes of what Patrick Wilson looked like, getting him out of the desert and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, bring that. Let's have that. And then of course Black Manta like coming back, and we wanted to see that because that's when it comes to villains of Aquaman. It's the fact that that he's the ultimate baddie, he's the ultimate nemesis, and then of course Orm's also been up there too. But the fact that he has to team up with his brother, I mean, there's so much there that I'm hoping that there's I've heard things that like maybe it's like a little bit messy, but at the same time I think they could do some things. James Wan I trust because that guy is a phenomenal director. I know when it comes to some of his ideas that he puts out there in his horror films, people are like, what the fuck? But I'm like, I'm all for it. I'm like, Malignant was a surprise. Awesome. It was a surprise, and I fucking loved it.
Was Morbius of horror movies.
100%. It was. Like that's what Morbius 2 should be what Morbius 2 should be what Malignant was. Like that actual tone of the tongue-in-cheek, like serious but comedic. That'd be great. I trust Juan too. Like even the first Aquaman, it's not like the smoothest movie, but I love that movie so much.
But he pulled it off. I'm like, how are you supposed to pull that world off? And he pulled it off.
He pulled off as such a venture. But like what you were talking about earlier, Dave, like that's like, I imagine what would have been the toughest thing to sit down because there's pros and cons to both as far as like, do you blow it all up and reboot and start over, or do you take what you have? Because the pro is, okay, people like the new because you could market the shit out, right? Like new Justice League, new Batman, like there's always that kind of hype. Like even with Pattinson, it was how's he gonna be? Stuff like that. So there's tons of things you could do with that start completely over. But then at the same time, do you want to lose Momoa, who has starring the biggest DC film of all time? Do you want to lose Gal? Yeah, exactly. Do you still, even though box office hasn't always been the greatest for these movies, do you want to lose Margot Robbie? No. And that's why, to me, I always think that I think if some of those other movies did trail off and didn't do so well, like an Aquaman, then they would have been more for, let's just start over. But again, I feel like if he's a numbers guy and you look at him and be like, okay, we're going to take the star of the biggest DC movie of all time and we're just going to cast him aside and he's not going to be in DC anymore. And you're like, I don't think that really makes much sense. So it's like, yeah, what can you do with this kind of foundation that's already built, whether that is kind of doing a Days of Future Past of like mixing a bit of universes, stuff like that. I don't think Keaton is much of a problem because Keaton's here for like a legacy run. He's here, obviously we know he's going to be in multiple movies, but I think he's here to have some fun, put on good performance, and then he'll be happy to go on again. I think Affleck, I think it's fine whether he's in or out, because if he's in, great, he cameos. If he's out, then he's out. And there's other Bat characters you can do, stuff like that. You have the Batman, so I think they got lots of ways they can go about it.
They can, there's lots of ways. I mean, you don't want to lose the star power. And that's what's so great about it's like what you have to embrace about Zack Snyder is the fact that he cast, like when it came to casting his Justice League, the only name is Ben Affleck. Mm-hmm. Everybody else, who the fuck were they at one point? And now they're names, they are fucking, he saw something in them and everything like that. I mean, even like, even Ray Fisher, he's a name. People know who that guy is now. And I love the fact that he's going to be part of Rebel Moon. And I mean, there's that whole situation, and hopefully we can, who knows if that will ever get resolved. But at the same time, I just like the fact that, man, like Zack Snyder was like, hey, this, I'm going to, if you're not, if Warner Brothers, who knows what the hell. But I just love the fact that Zach was like, hey, come over here. I got a role for you, and you're going to show more of what you can do, because he's a massive talent. He really is.
That situation is very interesting to me now, because I mean, and he tweeted about Toby leaving. Like, he totally tweeted about, hopefully we never see the likes of Toby Emmerich again. Yeah. And the interesting thing about it is, and it's funny because like the day that Emmerich was, said the day that story came out that he was stepping down, people were like, one more to go. And I'm like, guys, come on. His days are numbered. He's not going to, like, if you read the article, I don't see the article. I don't see a logistical scenario where Walter Hamada is still in charge of DC anything going forward. Zaslav is looking for a new boss.
Oh, totally.
A brand new boss. And so once you have that
happen, he is there.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. That, Casey, imagine him seeing these news line like he's currently looking for a new DC boss. It's like if my lady was like, she's like, it's like your friend coming and be like, hey, I saw Emily, she's on Tinder, and you're like, oh, aren't we together? Like, no, she's looking for a new guy. She's looking for a guy that likes walks on the beach. You're like, but I'm here. I'm in the house. Like,
but by the same token, though, guys, it's like what Zaslav was looking for is something different than what Walter Hamada has been. Because Walter Hamada has been a division boss. He's looking for a studio head. Yes. There is a difference.
A level up.
It massive level up. And, whether Hamada believes he's capable of that level up, it doesn't matter. He's not getting it. So it's a situation where so say that so that happens, and then say Fisher explodes the way that we think he will over on Netflix. Now are we talking about a scenario where there is potentially some resolution with whoever the new boss is going forward, especially if you decide to hang on to the roots of what you had, like because I think that a big thing, Dave, that helps the hope for Cavill, sticking around is the fact that he's connected to Momoa and Godot. He's connected to those other. I mean, you don't even have to go that far back. Go back to the Peacemaker cameo. It's literally those 4 versions that are there. So that benefits Cavill going forward.
And James Gunn wanted to have. I mean, apparently, from what I heard, he wanted to like, hey, can we get like everybody? I mean, obviously, the Ray Fisher, that was always going to be like an iffy thing because of the whole situation. But he wanted to have like everybody. But sadly, you got Momoa and Ezra, which was great. I mean, that was cool. But he wanted Affleck, he wanted Godot to be there, and Cavill. He was embracing what was already there. And I think when it comes to what Zaslav is trying to figure out when it comes to all this is like, do you just start fresh again, or do you just embrace what's already there? And what's going to be, the numbers, what's going to be? And I think he's probably going like, well, the numbers are the fact that, hey, we already got these popular characters, Momoa and Godot, and Ezra is a little bit of a, wild card. Let's face it. But hopefully that, we still have a year before the Flash.
Oh yeah.
And what's funny too is like, I was talking to somebody today, and they said that take it with a grain of salt. Oh, I know somebody who watched Flash, and they said if people that were disappointed about the multiverse-ness of Doctor Strange, they'd be satisfied with the multiverse craziness that happens in the Flash. And I'm kind of going, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, whoa. I mean, and then just hearing not like big time details, but he was basically saying like, he's like, yeah, they were very impressed about how this movie plays out with the multiverse. And I think when you have a character like the Flash and how this can, work with the story and what they're trying to show right here. I mean, I'm just kind of going, yeah, this is why I can't just go, fuck this movie. This movie's going to be a train wreck. I'm going, I don't know, just all these pieces keep on just lining up for me being excited for this movie. I mean, like I've said before, first off, it's one of my all-time favorite superheroes. Secondly, I do like Ezra. I mean, I know there's issues there, but I think there's going to be stuff, there's definitely going to be stuff that's going to be coming from his side later on that hopefully will help things to balance things out with what's happening with the controversies with him or with them. And then Andy Muschietti. I mean, come on. I mean, I trust that guy. I trust him. And talking with DJ and Brian Hirota, the VFX supervisors, what I always keep on saying to everybody is the fact that they were like done with superhero movies after the whole Justice League thing. But then something about the script just brought them back. Literally, just they read the script and went, oh, there's something about this script that just went, wow, this is something special right here. This is something unique and everything. So I'm just like, and it just sucks that, when you see people shitting on the costume and all that stuff, and I'm just like, we still got a year. Damn it. Like, God damn it. Can we just get this movie sooner? Because I want it to be successful. I want it to be successful and blow up and just totally surprise people. Yeah, it's got Zod and Feora. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always the question of how big it's going to be. Because, like, it has a barometer of it's going to be big. But I feel like it's like what happened with Top Gun this past week, where it's like, yeah, you knew it would be a success. But to this level of success, it's like kind of outperforming it, right? So it's like, we'll see next summer what that does as far as just everything included.
Well, and another thing, you're talking about the script, Dave. As far as I know, that's still Christina Hodson who wrote that.
And I love Christina
So
Hodson.
you're talking about the writer of Birds of Prey, The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, the writer of Batgirl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's hers as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's also part of what goes into Zaslav's decision making as well. Is like, all right, not just who to keep in terms of the talent on the camera, in front of the camera, but also behind the camera. Like, what is there that we have to work with, right? If the Flash succeeds, then it goes a long way towards, all right, we really do have something here, and we can continue to. I mean, I think they already do. I mean, I think many of us feel like they already do have something here that they can build on, and I think a lot of us would prefer that they continue on in that direction. And this is where it gets messy, because then you have the people that are like, this is where the restore the Snyderverse stuff comes into play. But I really feel like a lot of people at this point in time are just willing to see what they can do continuing with these characters, regardless of whether or not it is a continuation of that plan.
And for those people, sorry, go ahead, Ray. Sorry, I didn't mean to
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and for those people that are all like, that's the Snyderverse or nothing, I feel like building on the foundation of the Snyderverse versus just a flat out reboot is a better route. For one, just you get to keep some of that stuff around, but two, if anything potential in the future happens, they have these actors that are still around and they're working with, where if it's just, in 2025, you're getting new Superman, Batman, I feel like it's even less likely you'd get anything remotely that universe, because that would be more of a sign that they're completely moving on. And we're done with anything Warner Brothers has done since 2012, and we just want to do our own thing. But if you keep characters and storylines, because no matter what, we've talked about this, no matter what happens in Flash with the multiverse stuff, these characters, Ezra Miller's Flash spawns from the Snyderverse movies. You can't like the whole erasing thing. I know it's always mean, but your movies aren't going to disappear. They're not going to go out the same way as like it's the same thing as Doctor Strange.
We're erasing it. It's like, you have it right there.
You also, and I've gone even deeper with this, Travis. I've said this for the last couple of years. You also can't erase the last 5 or 6 years of preparation and character building out of Gal Gadot's head, or Ezra Miller's head, or Jason Momoa's head, or Margot Robbie's head, right? When we watch the Suicide Squad, that's not just James Gunn's Harley Quinn. No, that's Birds of Prey. That's that's Ayer's Suicide Squad. All of that goes into the development.
Well, it's like a different comic writer, taking the character and doing something. I mean, that's what it is. It's still the same actor that's doing it, but it's maybe on a slightly different, timeline. I know a lot of people are like, no, the Suicide Squad's not in the side. It's funny too, is like this was brought up today, and I talked about it on Film Junkie Live a while ago, and I did I clipped it out. I think it was actually 2 weekends ago. I clipped it out where a lot of people, some people in the fandom, the Snyder fandom, have a problem with toys. Shazam toys, Batman toys. In the there's no way they'd be in the Snyderverse and blah blah blah. And I was like, no, wait a minute. There would be toys. If there's a Batman that's been around for 20 years, there's gonna be some kind of products. And I brought up, and it just so happened that Scott and I did Batman the Fanimated stream when it was it was the episode. God damn it, I forgot what the episode's called, but it's basically where there is a shot in there where you actually see Batman merchandise, and Batman is very much feeling like he's he's very down on himself and very much saying that he's like, man, I just turned into like almost like a joke or whatever the fuck. There's like, the fact that there's merchandise. It's like, yeah, that would very much happen. And then and then somebody sent me something that was very old. And I'm like, well, yeah, in Man of Steel, when Zod and Superman are fighting in that building, we spotted this Easter egg. There's literally a poster that says like, be calm and call Batman in that fucking office building that you see in the distance. I'm like, and it has the traditional Batman logo. And I'm like, well, there you go. Like, if you don't think that there's like toys or merchandise of a Batman in this universe, even Snyder embraced that and put that as an Easter egg in Man of Steel before this whole shit was even created. And I'm like, so yeah, you guys could just shut up about this whole thing. Ugh, fictional characters.
not to because I have not seen it. It'll be a minute before I get to see The Boys season 3.
Oh.
But I feel like anybody complaining about like superheroes being marketed in their own universe needs to fucking watch that show.
Oh, I know, right?
Because that's exactly because
what they do.
Well, not only is it what they do, but it's literally and I realize that the show has its own like suspension of disbelief as well. But you're fooling yourself if you don't think that shit would be close to reality if superheroes actually existed.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They'd be doing their own movies. They'd be doing their own reality TV shows. They'd be doing all of that shit. The corporatism that is in that show. So that's the first thing that I think of when and remember, Dave, it wasn't just Batman figures. I mean, Freddy had an Aquaman shirt.
Yeah,
like in the end credit scene, like there's there was marketing around Wonder Woman, like there's stuff there, right? He had a Batarang prop, like he was treating it like it was a piece of memorabilia, like in his own. So no, there's no question about that.
And you got to embrace that. I mean, that's what's so funny. I mean, but when it comes to what they're trying to do now, it's like, all right. So it's just funny because, like I said, there's 3 Batmen, but they, let them work within what they're doing. I mean, when people go like, it doesn't make sense with Michael Keaton, I'm like, yeah, it's a little weird, but at the same time, it's like we haven't seen these movies yet, and we'll see why he's a Batman in Batgirl. We'll see why, and we'll see if it works. It's like yeah, we're gonna see him in the costume, but it's going to be more flashback. I believe, because obviously we saw J.K. Simmons Gordon with red hair and younger and whatever the fuck. Maybe that's going to be part of that. And then, he's going to be more of a mentor. I mean, we always heard about that it's going to maybe take a Batman Beyond approach, which I hope I hope we still get a live action Batman Beyond, please. And I think eventually we'll get like an authentic like Batman Beyond. And I think, to be honest, I mean, if Ben Affleck wanted to do something that was pretty cool, that would be, about 10 years later, do a Batman Beyond where, I mean, obviously if he's like in his 60s, he probably wouldn't be like old and decrepit. They would have to still make him a little older. But man, I can imagine, I mean, if you do like current day right now, it doesn't look like what Batman Beyond looks like, all cyber techy and all future-y and shit like that. You can do something where it's like 15 or 20 years in the future. I'm like, man, that'd be perfect for like a Ben Affleck. I always wanted that for Michael Keaton, but I think the approach they're really trying to do right now is like, all right, he's going to be a mentor for Batgirl. So I'm like, all right, let's see how that works out. I don't know how it plays out because, you have J.K. Simmons Gordon, which is Batfleck's Gordon. I'm curious, but when people say it just doesn't make sense, I'm like, yeah, okay, it doesn't. So that's why you got to watch the movie to see how it makes sense, and hopefully it'll be something we accept. Going, oh, okay, so that's what's the case. I mean, obviously, The Flash had something to do with it, and The Flash was supposed to come out first before Batgirl, but we just heard from the directors of Batgirl. They go, we don't know when our movie's going to come out. And it's like, yeah, because there might be a linear thing that needs to happen where The Flash needs to happen first. So maybe we're not going to get, I mean, and that kind of sucks because Batgirl is supposed to take place during Christmas. So it's like, all right, are we going to get pushed another year, or are they going to release it in summertime? Like,
Yeah, I'm at that point, honestly, where like I'm just glad that because the other elephant in the room here is like all the stuff that is like being nixed by Zaslav in the wake of all, because we obviously people are getting let go and others are being brought in, but the Wonder Twins movie that yes, people asked for it, whatever, never say no one, but that got
no one asked for this. Somebody did.
Someone it wouldn't exist if no one asked for it. But like
exactly.
But that got nixed, and then today I know Raised by Wolves fans are hurting because that's been kiboshed. There will be no season 3 of Raised by Wolves on HBO Max, so that's part of the cuts. And so it was one of those things where I was like, okay, Batgirl is in post production. That's going to happen. Blue Beetle is filming. Thank God, that's going to happen.
Oh man,
right?
and that costume looks fucking tits. We talked about that last.
It looks awesome, but I'm at that point now where it's like, okay, are you filming? Like, are thing? I'm just happy for things that exist, because who knows like what's going for. So yeah, I don't know when Batgirl is going to come out, but I know it's going to come out. It will be released whenever that happens. Maybe it ends up being Christmas 2023, and that sucks as far as like waiting until we get. But there's also a Black Adam, however the test screenings have gone, I'm sure they'll probably do something about that between now and October, and then Shazam: Fear of the Gods. That's a sneaky one that's just sitting there in December, and then then you get to Aquaman in March, then you get to The Flash in June, and then Blue Beetle still got an August 2023 release date. We'll see if that moves. So that it's not like we don't have things to look forward to before potentially getting to Batgirl whenever they decide to slate it in. So what we just have to figure out now is where they're going to fit it into whatever the new boss's plan is when they hire the new boss, who will not be anybody that anyone fan casts. It won't.
No. It's I think we've talked this many times. Like even when Feige took over MCU or whatever started or whatever you want to phrase it as, no one knew who Kevin Feige was. It'll be someone like that where oh okay, I've
Nobody
seen
knows
his or her movie, but like I don't know this person by name, and that's why I think unfortunately, because I really want to see it, I do think Batgirl is going to be 2023, but I think because that just gives them more time to kind of like make a plan. Like it gives them more time instead of if they release Batgirl, let's say the end of this year or the beginning of next year, then that's a movie already off their slate, right? If you got okay, we can hold back, and I do think Batgirl will go theatrical, just with the way Zaslav has kind of been like saying stuff. And so if that goes December, and let's say you got Blue Beetle in August, you got 2 DC movies already at the end of next year. Then we can start getting what is the 2024 movies? What are the movies that officially get? Because right now is like the setup. It's like get the team, but eventually there's going to be game day. When that happens, what's going to be that first thing that I guess you could technically say the Batman 2, but I'm not going to count that because we kind of thought that was a foregone conclusion just with the money. It's like, what is the first new thing they announced that's going to happen in 2024 under the Zaslav era? And that's what's interesting. But that's why I think Batgirl will be in December, just because it gives them more time to kind of, okay, we still got DC stuff coming, and then we'll see what happens. Because right now there's no movies on the slate for 2024. I know that sounds like it's 2 years away, but that's how movies work, right? It takes a long time between production, and that's why like when Kathy Kennedy is like, oh yeah, that Taika movie is coming out next year in December, I'm like, I don't think so. I feel like he says he's still writing the movie, and I feel like, but maybe I've always said, unless it's a super small movie, it could be, right? It could be something small scale Star Wars, but movies in 2024, that's why I know Puck News said it today, and even Ray, what you were talking about, I think this is kind of shining a light on a bit when you're like, oh, they might make one decision that make people mad. Just even the mention of, oh, Todd Phillips might be an advisor. You already saw my timeline. Let's be very split of people like, oh, that's great, or this is awful. You couldn't have him as an advisor. And even the article says, not an executive, not a guy who would be a Feige, just like a, hey, we have some ideas. We want to just hear you pitch or hear what you think about them, That's all it is, but already be like, oh no, this is bad because if I didn't like Joker, it's gonna ruin everything else, and you don't know what he could do. And that's the thing where it's gonna take a little time, but eventually they do got to get going because they got a big property. And I think you guys probably talked about it on the Vodka stream that I wasn't on. You got the stuff with JJ too, where they're kind of like, hey, what's going on. Like, why aren't you doing anything?
Yeah.
And that's why
that's a whole other conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I think my point is, as going, I know some people don't want it. I do think Joker 2 is a 2024 movie as well. Cause that just like
that could be
every few months we keep getting more news as like a script's almost done. Phillips like Puck News, I feel like I'm not sure
they toe the line where it's like
yeah, but like even
they're
then
they're not giant freaking robot.
Exactly, but they're not the only ones. They put that out today about a deal's almost done, but they're not the only ones. Like Variety at time has mentioned that they're talking about a Joker 2, and I think the fact of Zaslav is talking to him right now, if that is a thing that's happening, it's on the table because again, people may not like it. But if Zaslav is a numbers guy, you got a movie that cost $60 million and it made $1 billion. Even if it made half that $1 billion, it's super profitable. Whether you like the idea or not, I don't see why they wouldn't want to be like, if Phillips and Phoenix are willing to do it, let's try and take a gamble. Because like I said, even if it makes half that, that's a huge profit. Even if it makes 75% that, you would still make a profit on the $60 million movie, you know? And I'm still someone that like, I'm actually fine with Joker 2 because the thing is, if it sucks, it doesn't hurt the first one. It's still there. Sure. It's still the thing. And for me, I just think that there is still a story with having a Manson, like a Charles Manson like Joker at the end when he had all those people like in love with him. I think there's kind of a story there you could do, that kind of cult-like figure. And again, I guess I'm just also just down to see Phoenix play it. I'm fine if we don't get it, but I can see when we're talking about the same reason as Zaslav looking like to reboot or not reboot. When you look at Joker 2, I think from like a business standpoint, the pros probably outweigh the cons than us just being like, well, I just want standalone stuff. And that's great, but it is a business and they want to make money. And Joker 2, I think that's an instant profit. It's no matter what it does, you know.
It would. And well, before we continue, KC apparently their power outage happened or something like that, so that's why he can't get back on. But it's okay because we have Enosh coming in. You know,
Yo,
hello, sir.
Hey,
hello.
What's going on, sir?
Hey, man, just getting in.
You're showing up on my stream wearing a Dodgers hat. I'm kind of gonna,
I forgot. I wasn't even thinking about the Dodgers hat. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I know. And then you're kind of hurting some people here. I mean, you live close to, Ray.
Do I live close to Ray? I wouldn't know. He doesn't ever let me, he doesn't ever come over or reach out to me or like want to do any kind of thing with me.
I just opened up a can of worms, didn't I? Yeah. Amber, where do you guys?
I was totally about to defend Enosh and be like, listen, Dave, you gotta cut us Tiger fans some slack. It's been a rough season. We can't keep any pitchers healthy, and we can't hit worth a damn. So we need something. We don't have much this year, unfortunately. So I will allow Enosh some joy. We need some type of winner with respect to baseball, and we're still pissed about 2012. Don't act like we're
always.
I know. But anyways, thank you for joining.
Absolutely.
We're just right in the middle of talking about the WBD and Zaslav and just kind of like what do we do? What is the thing to do when it comes to I think what Zaslav is trying to figure out is like, all right, do you just reboot the whole thing or do we just keep what's going on right now? I mean, obviously there was the Cavill Superman talk, which, obviously that was like, that article was weird because, DC Insider said that. But at the same time, you just kind of go like, but it may, I mean, when it comes to everything that's happening with Toby Emmerich stepping down and what he wants, it's like, the value of Henry Cavill is there. Yes. The why start from scratch? Just like you already have the origin story. People, especially in the past fucking 9 years now, how many people have come around to Man of Steel and being like, holy shit, this movie is actually really good. How many times have you heard that from somebody who were like, wow, actually, you know what? I revisited Man of Steel. It's actually pretty damn good. Yeah. Or when they label stuff, hey, do a Superman movie like this. I think famously, you and I, Enosh, the first time you were on the Vodka stream, we listed off some, you were listing things off about like what people actually want in a Superman movie, and that was in Man of Steel. Yes. It just wasn't in the way that people wanted it. But then when they go back and revisit it, they go, oh shit, this actually is a goddamn good movie. So like, okay, so
Or I get like the TikTok comment that I got today that that was absolutely a sadistic Superman that needed to not exist. So I was like, sadistic. That was a new one. I was like, sadistic, huh? So how does that work? And they were just like, he's killing people. For one, he snapped Zod's neck, and I'm like, dear God, it's like the same freaking argument over and over again.
What did everyone just misses lethal? Everyone just misses the family. Yeah, the family that everyone forgets the family that was sitting in the corner that was about to get lasered.
Yeah,
they're about to get lasered.
Superman was just bloodthirsty.
Yeah,
and wanted Zod dead.
What did he do right after that? I mean,
I think he went out for lunch. I think he smooched. He smooched on Lois for a few minutes.
We killed the bad guy. Let's go get some. Let's
go get some shawarma.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, my God. I mean, that's what's so funny. I mean, he literally fell down to his knees, realizing that that was it.
It's such a beautiful moment. It's such a beautiful moment too. Like the anguish that's in that moment that is truly Superman's heart, and for people to just completely just ignore that. It's hurtful. As a Superman fan, it's just hurtful because it's like, come on, like this angry, evil, sadistic Superman myth that's just out there that they say Henry Cavill is, and it just doesn't make any sense because that's just not who his character is in the movies. I mean, I guess unless you're going to talk about those few seconds where they show, a flash forward to a possible future, the nightmare, future, whatever. I mean, but I don't know, man. I start to have conversations the person came back to me and said, prove, show me issue number or whatever where Superman just kills somebody. And I'm like, well, okay, I could do that. I can get home and look through some comics, and do that. But I'm like, because they wanted me to show, because I couldn't use any of the things that weren't, according to them, canon. And I'm like, well, what is canon to you? Like all the reboot times? I mean, are we going to omit everything that's like back in the Silver Age, or are we going to omit everything after Crisis? Are we going to omit, things after 0 Hour, or, what was the other ones that, there's, Rebirth, or, I'm like, what is canon to you? And I said, the point is anything that I say or any comic that I bring up, you're just going to say it's not canon, because they were saying that the times that he's killed Zod in the comics wasn't canon. And I'm like, well, when's the last time a movie was canon to everything that's in the comic books right now? You can't draw from things and tell stories.
And see, that's what Zaslav is really just kind of breaking down. And it's so obviously the JJ Superman, that's thrown out the window. I mean, that whole idea, I think all of us collectively were we liked, the whole Val Zod idea.
Yes.
I hope that ends up being something that does happen, because okay, if you want a black Superman, let's have the actual black Superman instead of just changing, Clark Kent. Let's just have the one that they actually created in the comic books, and let's tell that story, because that would be freaking phenomenal. It's all right, let's do that instead. But you already have this guy right here who embodies that look. I mean, this guy right here. Everything about it, what you have it right there, and it's you don't have to totally, like I was saying before, you don't have to do a direct sequel to everything that already has happened, but you have that as a base. You have that as a foundation. And you can maybe reference it a little bit, but you can totally tell a totally hopeful, optimistic Superman story with whatever, Man of Tomorrow, whatever you want to do. Henry Cavill's even expressed what he would like to do as well. Yeah. And it's you could tell that story now. And I think Zaslav, to be honest, is kind of going maybe we should go this route. That's why maybe this Superman talk has been, even though it was hearsay and it was some whatever the fuck, but I think it's just, maybe I think there's a little weight behind it, because he wants to figure out what is going to be the best option for this. And I think that is.
I'm very optimistic. I've been talking to some people the last couple of days who are not like, they don't like the idea of what Zaslav is doing. They think he's being cheap. They think that he's just trying to cut everything just to make money, and that's all. And I've said, well, let's think about this in another way. I said, I don't think he's just trying to be cheap. I think that to label him just being cheap negates the idea of the fact that, like, he's literally coming into Warner Brothers, a company that has been sold, twice in the last few years. They don't have their stuff together, because it was like somebody was saying, well, they just need to just keep doing what they're doing and just stick with it. I'm like, no, that's the problem. They're obviously not doing a good job as a company, not just with DC stuff, but just as a company, they're not making good choices. And I think that there's this fear that needs to be addressed with some people. Like, there's a lot of people who are worried about the Zaslav is going to cut off the creatives, and that he's not going to allow creative people to have this say or whatnot. And I just, to that I spoke, and I just said, listen, if you want to act like the sky is falling, that's one thing. I'm like, but there's a time where you hand over the reins to some of your creatives and give people a chance to take some liberties, or to do some, to take a chance, right? But there's a time as a business, as a company, as a corporation, you have to come together and you have to establish what your base is, like who you're going to be. And that takes time. And that's not the time to start like handing out, these get out of jail card, free cards, and say, well, hey, you just go over and you just make whatever movie you want to make, and we're just going to fund that thing, and we're going to be there. Like, I get it, but it's at the same time, it's not this time. This time has to be Zaslav coming. I don't feel that he's being cheap. I feel that he is looking at properties and what they can do. Look, they're not going to make I've literally heard people like worried and acting like they're going to, make a $30 million Superman movie. Like, no.
HBO Max originals.
But maybe we don't make a $250 million Superman movie, right? Maybe we cut that back a little bit, and but like, anytime you try to use that and say, well, look, I'm of the, I would disagree, like, to a point with like the Joker. I don't think that movie needs a sequel. I heard what Travis was saying just before I came in. By the way, Travis, I love your shirt.
Oh, thank you, sir. So, shitty night, but
Yep. Hey, but the thing is like, I'm worried about what a sequel to the Joker is, because personally, I don't believe he's really the Joker. Like, I have a hard time watching that movie and feeling like he's a Joker. He's not a criminal mastermind. I can't see that guy like going on to be the Joker. And I also feel like he's an unreliable narrator, because like, you talking about them hoisting him over their shoulders and everything. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that happened. Like, watching that film, because every time because every time in the film something good happens to Arthur, it's a lie. It's a figment of his imagination. So like, and like, we see him literally on everybody's shoulders, and then the next scene is literally him, in a doctor's, in with the doctor, talking to the doctor, and then you see this blood. It's weird, it's like, what is actually happening and what's not. So I'm just saying, like, personally, what I would like them to do is maybe make some more movies like that. But again, they made that movie for $50 to $70 million. And like you said, they reaped $1 billion. So of course they're going to look at some of that stuff and go, how can we make movies that are like that? Now, the problem is you say that to some people and they totally ignore, and there's a lot of smart people that are doing this, and I don't understand what it is, but they totally ignore like the concept and they try to act like everything is literal. Like every DC movie is now going to be $50 million. Mm-hmm. No, that's not the thing. The key is to bring the cost down so that they can make money, so that they can spend it on their big tentpole pictures, because Zaslav wants to release them in theaters. He wants them to be the events, and that's what you're going to spend the money on. So no, you're not going to go blow all this money on a HBO Max, original or whatever. I mean, that's what's gotten Netflix into a lot of trouble, is just blowing money,
exactly.
putting bad money after
that's what I've said many times too. It's like, what Zaslav is really trying to do is like, he doesn't want what's happening at Netflix right now. Well, it's like, Netflix is not going away, but they have really had to like correct their shit.
Yes.
this is where I have to be Steven for. You're making me be Steven for a second, and remind people that the reason Netflix was able to do that was because for 10 years they had no competition, and the reason they're having to fix things is because now everyone other than Sony is competing against them. And is actively taking a
wait. We're gonna create a Morbius streaming service.
Morbius,
right? Morbian time. Yeah. It's gonna be called Morbian time. You know, it's gonna be a streaming app. Sorry.
So yeah, no, but that just I have to bring that up. That's why.
No. Totally makes sense.
Oh sure.
Yeah, but no, you're right. Zaslav. I mean, he's even said this. Zaslav has even said, no, it's not time to throw money at everything. And you know what you're saying a second ago, Enosh, like you don't know why smart people are behaving this particular way. I think I know why. I think that unfortunately we live in a point in time in history where fan entitlement is so off the rails.
Well, yeah.
And going back to what you were saying, you mentioned a dirty little five letter word that is starting to become the bane of my existence. More so than the word plot hole, which almost very few people know what a plot hole actually fucking is. And now it's to the point where they are misusing the word canon. And I'm in this point where you gotta understand, guys, I am in a sweet spot as a nerd right now because on a weekly basis, I'm getting new Star Wars and new Star Trek back to back. Every Wednesday and Thursday, I get Obi-Wan and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I am in fucking nerd heaven when it comes to this, right?
Amen
but
to that.
It's also making me hate the word canon because every day that a new Obi-Wan episode comes out, every day that a new Strange New Worlds episode comes out, I gotta hear from some dickless piece of shit talking about how there's... they've ruined this about Obi-Wan. They've ruined that about the Enterprise. This isn't canon. This doesn't follow the original series. This doesn't follow the prequel. This doesn't follow that he's supposed to be more like Alec. No, he's just. I am so done with the word canon.
He's too much like Luke in The Last Jedi.
That one comes up a lot.
That one does come up, which I like.
Why is he? I literally heard this week. Why is he a hermit? I'm like.
That's literally.
I give up. I give up. I give up. Nobody in the hell knows what they want anymore.
It's old Ben lives up beyond the dune sea is kind of a strange old hermit. That's from.
I know.
That's the line.
That's literally canon.
Yeah. First, right. But
I swear.
If you even dig into the Last Jedi stuff, when you look into the sequel trilogy and some of George's early scripts, he created, I can't remember what her name was, but a character very similar to Rey. Kira, thank you. And what was he doing with Luke in these sequel trilogies? He was a hermit away from everything else. So it's just like they didn't take everything from it, but that was
and a girl had the Force, and guess what?
Yes.
She did all these things. Look, I've been a Last Jedi lover since the beginning, and honestly, look, if people don't like something, they don't like it, right? And so I don't ever try to argue people into liking the thing that I like, right? All I can do is speak to why I like it. And if you don't like it and I like it, I'm fine as long as you're not telling me I'm an idiot, I'm an a-hole, I don't know Star Wars.
Yeah. You're not a true fan.
I know. Look behind him.
Dear God, I better stop spending money. But I get that. And then, but now it's even people taking the whole stuff about Reva, Reva or whatever. Oh my God, Disney is doing this thing where they're automatically attacking the fans. No, I didn't feel attacked by that. You know why? Because I'm not a racist a-hole.
Yeah,
and I didn't take that personally. Because you know what? I just like Star Wars, and they said that because there was already a preemptive strike from those types of people, and they weren't saying that to all Star Wars fans that you better not be a racist. They were just saying, hey, for those of you who are saying these things, we know you're saying these things, and we're just telling you right now, this is the way it is. My guess, if I'm speculating, is by the end of it, she's probably going to play a major role in saving Kenobi, and people are going to be pissed.
That's what we're kind of wondering too. It's
people are going to be pissed, and so
like, some of us aren't digging the character. I'm not. I've said it before, but it's just because I'm just kind of going like, the character right now, the writings or like whatever is happening, it's not there for me right now. Hopefully,
the acting is a little wooden.
Yeah,
right.
I personally just don't like the archetype that she's playing, right?
Exactly.
And it has gotten better, but that's the shitty part is like when the first 2 episodes came out, I totally wanted to have a rational conversation about how okay, I'm willing to. It's only 2 episodes. I don't want to make like bold proclamations for the future of the character, but right now I don't like villains that are needlessly cruel for no calculated reason whatsoever. And I couldn't have that discussion because the racists had already fucking hijacked it. And I'm like, that's no, whatever. But
like I said again, if look, I have issues with some of the production value in like episode 3, for example.
Oh yeah.
And like some of that felt kind of wonky. And the Vader stuff. I mean, some of it was kind of cool to see, but at the same time, I felt like I shot it in my backyard, and and it's like
I was going like, what happened with Rogue One or Rogue One when they showed Vader's live? Like it was different. It seemed better.
But they nailed the voice this time.
Well, of course they did.
Vader's voice was like spot on. And look, I just keep saying like when I saw people literally yelling about a 10-year-old little girl's teeth, and that they didn't like young Leia because and like why can't Obi-Wan chase down a 10-year-old? Tell me you've never used your penis and created another being without telling me you've never used your penis and created another live human being, because let me tell you something, is having 3 boys, I know what that's like, and I had 2 younger sisters, and trust me, okay, when I tell you it is not that easy. So I don't care if you are Obi-Wan Kenobi, when you haven't been using the Force in 10 years,
I know that's one of the things too, which I'm digging. And I like the fact that, it's kind of like, we're getting to old man Obi-Wan a little bit right here, where it's like, he's a hermit. He's trying to just lay low. He hasn't been using his Force power. So like, he's rusty. He's rusty. Even like when we saw him, and Vader go at it, it's like Vader was just toying with him.
He's not just
one-handed, just like Luke in Empire, man.
He's not just rusty. He's also broken.
Yeah,
like that's the
PTSD thing. Yeah,
that's the thing that a lot of these, the people that are misusing the word canon, just to bitch about whatever they want to bitch about. It's basically another way of saying they're not doing what I want them to do. They're completely ignoring the fact.
What do you want them to do? That's what I kind of wonder. Like, what do you want?
They don't fucking know. But like,
go ahead.
But they're completely ignoring the fact that it's 10 years after this dude just suffered.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's been hunted, and he blames himself for like what has happened, and he was deceived by a lie, we all were, that type of deal. Like that messes with you I love the progression where like it took him the whole first episode, and it also took Bale like calling him, and then when that didn't work, showing up in person and going, go fucking do this. It took that for him to finally screw up his courage, and even he's still struggling with that, because that is how far of a fall he and the Order have had since the end of Revenge of the Sith. He's a wreck. Like I think people, unfortunately, I think maybe what part of what they want is they wanted a series that was like, because I've seen people post this. There was a thread that somebody posted earlier on Twitter about a great breakdown of Obi-Wan's emotional journey and like what he's doing in these first couple of episodes. And somebody posted the clip of him fighting Maul from Rebels. Mm-hmm. No. And my response was, you do know that he's not there yet, right? We're seeing him build back up into Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. He's not at Alec Guinness Obi-Wan level yet. This story is literally about his journey to recapture that and become Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. But there are
Ray, our characters can't have up and downs, man. No, I guess not. They just can't. You're expecting me to believe that General Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jedi Master, would have to like put up with real life problems and issues
Yeah, like
No.
feeding his camel creature guy, like where he has to cut a little.
Who's taking care of that thing right now? By the way, you know,
Right,
he's
right.
Yeah, that's my main
I do
concern.
like the
I'm so
fact
sorry for that little
that he's
camel
using a
guy.
blaster. I do like the fact that he's using a blaster because it makes that line so much more beautiful from A New Hope, where like he's like talking about blasters and lightsabers being more from a more civilized age, but he's walking around blasting everything. I dig it, man. It's a new Star Wars story. That's what I love about it. Look, if this Star Wars story isn't for you, don't watch it. But don't attack every little thing. When we're literally going after 10-year-olds.
There's a whole niche about attacking every. I fucking hate Star Wars. It's all woke. Everything is this.
Oh,
there's a whole
God.
niche. There's a whole niche. There's a whole niche. Sadly, that and it's funny too because like when I approached the whole thing that was happening, I was like trying to look at it both sides, but it's like there's like the narratives that are just like everywhere. It's almost like there's going to be an episode of Star Wars like Star Wars, duel of the narratives kind of thing, where it's like and at the same time it's just like, all right, when going into this, I'm like, all right, I just want to see more Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor. I mean, come on, let's do this. Do I like everything? Like you said, Enosh? No, there's things I could just break down and be like, that I've commented on. I mean, the last episode, some cool fucking shit. And then there's some stuff where I was like, well, okay, that was, I was like, okay, I don't know if I like that,
right.
A little strange. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not going to just like sit there and just say like, oh, no. There's no way. Star Wars is dead. They would not have fought before New Hope. It's like,
so Dave, what you're telling me is I can't have an opinion? I can't express my opinion?
How many times, I mean, when you look at the prequels, how many times did like George Lucas kind of like, maybe I could tweak a little things here.
He didn't even know Luke and Leia were related when he did the original trilogy when it
started. Exactly.
That's how it went. And I'm somebody, and I think we talked about this like a long time ago. I was somebody that I'm not tweeting at Deborah Chow being like, don't ruin Obi-Wan. I was just like, I don't know if I like the idea of Vader and Obi-Wan fighting, because I did like that. Okay, you got Revenge of Sith all the way to New Hope. And I was always like, I just don't feel this works. Same thing with him leaving Tatooine. I was like, this just doesn't work for me. Once I got the show, I was open-minded. Okay, this is the way they're going to do it. Let's see. I was down for all of it. I was down for the fight, because the good thing about that, we call it a fight, but that thing with Obi-Wan and Vader, to me, it wasn't really a fight. It was just Obi-Wan surviving. It was just him playing defense the whole time. And he's not even fighting Vader. It's kind of like what Ray alluded to. He's fighting himself. He's fighting his inner demons. It doesn't matter who's on the other side. It sucks even more that it's Anakin who like has all this stuff. But for me, who didn't really want to see them fight again, didn't really want to see Leia or see him leave Tatooine, the show has sold me on all that, and that's why it's good to be open. And I always tell people this too. At the end of the day, anything that wasn't made, by George, you can just count as it's like a what if. He made those 6 films with little Clone Wars. If you really want your George Lucas Star Wars, it's there, and you can just watch this. All these other things.
But Travis,
just
people don't
stories.
even want that. Okay, so here's the weird part about this, right? Like people honestly just don't know. Like so. Couple weeks ago, I got to meet Freddie Prinze Jr. Right?
Whoa!
And did you guys have seen? I'm guessing his rant from a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Where like he went off, right? And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, yes, this is exactly how these people act, right? But like he took so much flack for it. And what's amazing about that is the people who hate Freddie Prinze Jr. They claim to love George and that everything is George and like George was screwed over and only George is the man. But literally Freddie was echoing the words of George Lucas and Dave Filoni. Yeah. Dave Filoni studied at the altar of George Lucas and did the Clone Wars series with him. And then that led into Rebels, which Freddie Prinze Jr. was right there with those guys. And he even talks about it in the rant. And like, people still don't, but because it's not what they want to hear. Yeah. And that's the problem. We're in a, we're talking about different fandoms here, right? We started off DC, right? And now we're on this. But the thing is that what it boils down to is people only listen to the things they want to hear. If you are telling me that Henry Cavill's coming back, I'm going to listen to you all day long. Mm-hmm. I don't care if any of your other stories, you guys were, you were talking about like where it came from, because it came from the whatchamacallit, the Wrap. Yeah, the Wrap. It's an insider at the Wrap, right? Like, people will listen to Giant Freaking Robot, if they tell them what they want to hear. People will listen to Doomcock if they tell them what they want to hear. Like on any of these things, like that's just what it is. and they won't actually break it down. Those things they won't break down, right? They'll break down everything else and like to make it suck, but like to actually take a look at what's happening, what makes the most sense, is this going to actually work or not? You know, and I'm right there with you, Travis. Like I was the same way about this. When Kathleen Kennedy said the words that this was going to be the rematch, you know, of the century, I was like, no, no, I don't want that. Please don't show that. And and there's still a part of me that says no. You know, like, look, even this part that I got is still like, yeah, it's cool, but at the same time, I liked it the way it was. You know, but once. You know, like I always wanted the Obi-Wan series because I always thought it'd be cool to see what was going on. And I'm even okay with him leaving Tatooine for a while, you know, but then coming back, you know. But yeah, the Vader thing is just really weird because, you know, like obviously just even in the first little thing we've seen, Vader is not the learner anymore. So that line, when I last saw you, I was but a learner, now I am the master. He literally just drugged Obi-Wan through fire and burned him, and you know what I mean. And
that was cool.
So I brought that up in our review, and then there was a good Twitter thread that they're being very, very literal. But when you read the script and you read New Hope, he says, "When I left you," he doesn't say last. And people, you can have fun that you can insinuate that when he was a Jedi and he left Obi-Wan, that's when he was the master. You got to jump around, and that's gonna happen, right? It's the same thing we talked about George. George jumped around too all the time. Of like, your father was killed by Darth Vader. 3 movies later. Well, from a certain point of view, he was killed by Darth Vader, but
he literally says it, right? When everybody's thinking, well, from a certain point of view, like George, I can see George writing that.
Yeah, it's like, no, when you fucking lied in my face, Darth Vader killed my dad, and you're lying, and that's where it's like they're doing this too to, you know, some things are going to work better, some things will work a little worse, but as long as they're trying to find their best way and do a good story, I'm open for it to see how it goes.
And there's even a line in New Hope where like Darth Vader goes like, "I'm feeling a presence I haven't felt since." And then that's it. Yeah. It's like, all right, so there's no timeline. He just said since.
Exactly.
When was it? Was it 10 years ago? Was it 15? How? We don't know. Right. So I always remember that line where it's like, I haven't felt the presence since. And it's like, we don't know how long ago he's thinking. So it could be, you know, shorter than we actually.
My biggest hope, no pun intended, with all this is that the parents of that little girl, are shielding her from all this nonsense. Because I'll be honest with you, look, it's bad enough. It's hard enough for some adult YouTubers to take any kind of criticism on just like what they do. You know what I mean? I mean, let alone social media. You know, like if you just wanted to keep it on the acting and just say that, like, it's hard enough for a kid, I think, to be able, when you're talking about a child like that, for a child to even be able to look at a negative review of their acting at that age, right? And be able to process that, let alone making fun of a little girl's looks because she has big teeth in her mouth. I don't know, because she's a 10-year-old and there's these things called baby teeth and you lose them. And then you get these bigger teeth that for a while, until you grow into them, they may look a little big. Or like, I don't like what Leia's doing. So they're harping on that, when it's like the little girl is doing her job and she's doing a really darn good job of it. And you know, but we're attacking it, like you mentioned Jake Lloyd. Have we learned nothing? Literally, we literally just went the whole time. I've seen a bunch of stuff about Jake Lloyd, and I've seen a bunch of stuff about Ahmed Best and stuff, but they don't want. But these same people don't want
social media too. That's crazy.
Yes, and so we're just doing the same. It's like we're going around in circles with this stuff, you know, like Kelly Marie Tran, you know, and then people want to act like, well, that didn't happen. Yeah, it did. It was out there, you know. Now with Moses, well, you know, she's not getting. Well, yeah, she's obviously getting these things because look, they're commenting on it, and we see and we've heard from people who are out there saying these things. Yes, are they YouTubers or, you know, people on Twitter or whatever? Yeah. But the point is like there's people who are just either trying to gatekeep Star Wars, or look, they're coming at it from a completely you can't rely on what they're saying. They're literally, like you said, Dave, they've got a reason for doing it because it's profitable.
Yes,
to hate on things,
people,
and they're taking advantage of that. And then the problem is that because they have an influence, it's going to draw other people in who just didn't like it, right? Because there's people who are just going to go, yeah, it's just not for me, right? But then they hear like this or that, and now all of a sudden they think there's this negative connotation that like there's this agenda with Star Wars, right? And so then like that builds anger, and the more that you feed that, you're going to draw those people, those regular people into that nonsense, so that they still think, oh, it's just me just not liking it. Now I can't just like it. But it's not about that anymore. It's literally just about you want to hate it before it even comes out, because it gives you something to talk about.
Oh yeah, I think one of the things that I've always stressed on is like, yeah, there's always going to be the negativity, but I mean, I just want to embrace all the positivity, because there's a shit ton of positivity about all this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is like, I mean, what happened? Like, what did they release when it came to the ratings?
Most hours,
the biggest debut on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, no matter what, I mean, everybody was waiting for this. Everybody watched it. I mean, yeah, if it's didn't meet up to your standards, sure, fine, whatever the fuck. But that's just focused on the fact there's so many people that are just like going, hey, this is actually, you know, good. Yeah, people have criticism, sure, but
because this goes across.
Your audio turned way up a little bit.
Oh, really? I don't know what happened.
No. Man,
sure.
How do I sound? Wrong? It got a little louder, right?
Am I too loud?
Louder, yeah.
Yeah, no, I see. Enosh was like, yeah.
Like, what am I, like, what happened?
Okay, you're good now.
That's better now. Yeah.
Good now?
Yeah, you're
okay.
good.
All right. This goes across all franchises.
Sounded like Zool, like. Sorry. Anyways,
no. But it was like a couple years ago. I was like, you know, when they brought in Captain Pike and Spock and number one into season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, which was already getting blasted because it was, you know, 10 years, but it's in the original series, but it doesn't feel like the original series. And there's a black woman in the lead. That Sonequa Martin Green was dealing with the same shit that Moses is dealing with now, like for the last 5 years. But like when they brought Pike into the second season of the show, I was one of the people that was like, I don't know that I want to see a show like that, because that would be I felt like it was going to infringe upon the original series, and I wasn't open at the time to the idea of stories involving anything before the time of Kirk aboard the Enterprise. And then by the time the season was over, I'd completely flipped that. I was like, no, I dig what Anson Mount is doing. I love what Ethan Peck is doing, and I want to see more of what Rebecca Romijn is going to do. I'm on board. Give us a series. And now 5 episodes into that show, it is probably the best first season of a Star Trek series ever, period. Like the best first season. So, and we're only halfway through it. But it's the same shit. Like you get the same, like the episode that just aired, that just premiered yesterday is for people, Strange New World spoilers. Any of you seen it? Any of you watch it?
I have not watched it yet.
No.
I have not watched it.
I've only ever seen the 2 J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
I've heard good things, though. I've heard good things.
I've seen the rest of the show. I just didn't watch this week's episode yet. Dude, the show is so good, man. The show is so good.
What I keep hearing.
It's really good, and there's a scene. All I will say is that there is a scene where Chapel is on a date. Like she's involved, like there's some inklings about like her position on romantic involvements, right? And it's really good, and I love what Jess Bush is doing. She's adding so much like depth to, like, that's the other thing the show is doing is like it's developing characters like Chapel and Uhura. Like, no disrespect to like Nichelle Nichols or Zoe Saldana, but this is the best that character has been written in like the history of the character. It's amazing. They gave her a whole episode, and they've like developed, and she's
they've
still
given her stuff to do.
Exactly.
Right? She's not background. She was actually in the forefront. Yeah.
Right. And so this episode comes out yesterday, Enosh, and you know we get a glimpse into Chapel's idea of like love life, and one of the first comments I see on a thread is, when are they going to mention Roger Corby from What Little Girls Are Made Of? Because she was engaged to him. And this is it. What Little Girls Are Made Of is an original series episode from the first season that most of these fucking fans don't even remember.
Right.
And, you know, Ted Cassidy, dude who played Lurch in The Addams Family, was in this episode.
Oh, wow.
But they got to find
It's the same people that didn't remember that Tila was always supposed to be the sorceress one day, all right? You know? So have a bowl of Skeletor. Now I have the power crunch.
Wow,
and,
you actually have a box of.
and get back to me. No, dude, I hear you.
But unfortunately, all of the fandoms are doing this shit. The entitlement is off the charts.
Well, that's the thing.
And they're just picking away at it, and unfortunately, like the gatekeepers, like I said, the stuff that Moses is dealing with now, Sonequa Martin Green's been dealing with that shit for the last 5 years, and it's been fucking disgusting on that end as well.
I'm embarrassed for some of the people
John
my age.
Boyega too, like what he had to deal with. So it's just
they edited him off posters and stuff like that, And,
right.
Oh well, yeah, in China.
Yeah.
China.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And that's thing. Like
Anosh
was talking about George Lucas too earlier, and that's like the biggest go-to. Like that's the biggest straw man argument for any Star Wars fan, because they don't talk about George as a person, and most people just kind of talk about George like he's dead. Like, oh, he would have won it this way. He would, and I'm sure he's out of stars.
He's still fucking alive.
Yeah, and he's like, he's had his problems with it, of course. Like, of course you would. This is his baby that he sold off, and sure, he got a lot of money, but at the same point, it is probably difficult at times to say, I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be doing that. But at the same time, I feel like they just, whatever they don't like, well, George wouldn't want it that way. Like, George wouldn't want it that way, And again, George contradicts himself all the time, because I'm somebody, you talk about something that, a concept I don't like. I still don't like the Inquisitors. I don't like the Inquisitors as, like, I like just Vader and Palpatine. But you look at the original trilogy movies, George said, oh, no, it's just Luke and it's just Vader and Palpatine. But then he was a part of Clone Wars and part of some of Israel stuff that, like, he added the Inquisitors. He added this stuff. And I go, not really for me, but I guess it's here now and I got to deal with it. But then I move on. I don't tweet at George.
Travis, it doesn't even matter because they could still be dead. And it wouldn't matter, because what you just said about George would have wanted it, that's no different than Gene Roddenberry's rolling over in his grave. It's the same shit.
Oh, Bill Finger would hate what Zack Snyder was doing. And, all this stuff.
Look, I agree with that, man, because the George Lucas thing. Look, I love George, and I'm thankful to God that George, created Star Wars and that it is what it is. But the reality is like, George couldn't write dialogue. Like even the original cast talks about it. Harrison Ford gives him crap all the time about it.
He's all, you could write this shit, but you can't say it.
Right. But yet if you say anything like that to some of these people, like they act like you're, it's heresy or whatever. And like I said, George, the reason why George sold Star Wars, Lucasfilm, right? The reason why he sold Lucasfilm to begin with was because the fans turned on him.
Yeah.
The fans famously turned on him with the prequels, and he just said, screw it, man. Obviously, I'm not going to make the Star Wars that these people want, so I'm going to turn it over to a company that I think is going to be able to keep this going for years and decades, to come, and, and hopefully they'll make them happy. Now, then there was all that,
7 years later.
Right. But then there was all that talk about like, then all of a sudden that, he kind of had a little probably buyer's remorse, like because they bought his scripts. Well, just because they bought his scripts doesn't mean they were going to make those movies. You buy those scripts to keep them from falling into hands where people go, look what George would have done. But we know what George would have done. Like Travis was talking about, like there were a lot of those same story beats in there, except there was a lot more midichlorians. And look, all props to people who love the prequels and love midichlorians. I can do without. Look, I've learned to appreciate the prequels more and more, right? Like there's things in there that are just brilliant. And honestly, I love Attack of the Clones a whole lot more than I used to now. Like it's amazing. But I can do with a whole lot. I don't need to know the microscopic levels of the Force and have a bunch, because he was supposed to have like a bunch of more like 12, 13-year-olds in the movies and stuff. And it's just like, I don't really need that myself. But look, it's Star Wars. Again, Star Wars is Star Wars, man. Every once in a while, you're going to get something that you go, oh my God, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. And then every once in a while, you're going to get something that goes, that really wasn't for me.
Just like every franchise, right?
Exactly.
Marvel, DC. Now that we got these multiple films, multiple shows, you can't. I guess that's why it doesn't hurt as much anymore, because I just know, well, there's going to be. If I didn't like Obi-Wan, well, Andor's in August, and luckily I do the same thing with Boba Fett. I was not a big fan of Boba Fett. and then Obi-Wan came up. Boom! I love Obi-Wan. I'm such in a Star Wars mood. I think Rogue One is legitimately maybe the most overrated movie of all time. I put that on the other day just because I was in a Star Wars mood. I was just like, I just want to watch more Star Wars. Oh yeah, I know the face, but like I
agree with you. I agree with you, Travis.
I
agree with you.
That it's all subjective.
Oh no, it is. But that's what
I don't think it's over.
But even when I'm in a Star Wars like that, it's like, oh no, I just want to watch more Star Wars. So I put on Rogue One, and even then, that's a film that like I don't love, but I like it enough. There's good things in it. I watch it, and then I move on because there's gonna be something else. Even if you hated the Batman, guess what? In 10 years, there'll be a new actor and a new director playing the Batman and stuff like.
Well, like I said, right now we got 3 Batmen, so you have your choice.
Right.
And I think that's and I guess that's maybe the only reason why for me I was. With Rise of Skywalker and how it ended, that I don't hate the movie, but that one always does disappoint me because with that original cast and you only get one shot at that, right? You only get one shot at ending these ones where Batman, Spider-Man, these comic book characters, even some other people in Star Wars, you could do some animated stuff, but with that, it did leave a little sour taste in my mouth. But the good thing is we got Mandalorian, which I like. We got Obi-Wan. I hope we actually do get some of these movies that Kathy's talking about, because all these things she says, like, oh, the movies, we want this to be after the sequels. Great. Please go do that. That'd be awesome if we got High Republic stuff, prequel stuff, Dark Time stuff, because I'm somebody too, like, other than Obi-Wan, every time they're like, hey, this show's in the Dark Times, I'm like, oh, fuck, like, can we just move on from the Dark Times? But the thing is, I got other shows and movies coming out that are away from that. So now if I'm disappointed in a show that's about the Dark Times, I know, okay, next year Acolyte might be coming. Or if this Taika movie does come up, it's after the sequel. So that, I think that should help, but it doesn't. It doesn't help for some people. It's like, it all has to be perfect, all has to be this, has to be fit in this little box.
Well, I mean, the show that I'm still, like, laser focused on is Ahsoka. Which is which is after the Dark Times. So
I cannot wait. Look, as someone who enjoyed the sequels, do I enjoy everything about them? No. Okay, there's especially Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker is such a disjointed mess sometimes, but it's not necessarily like I don't get mad at like some of the plot points that I see other people get mad at, like Palpatine coming back. I don't care about that. I think that makes sense. I was back there reading in the day. I think that that's really funny that people are like pissed off because they didn't get their Legends stuff, right? The Legends isn't canon. Well, it never was canon, first of all. But like they're pissed off about that. But then you actually get a story plot point right out of Legends, and they get mad at that for some reason, right? There's enough wrong with that movie other than Palpatine. But the thing is that I look at
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
Sorry. Right. No. It's true. But I look at the sequels, right? And I thought it was funny because I saw somebody comment in a thread I was in or whatever the other day, and they said something about they're finally starting to see what the sequels were doing because of some of these shows that are coming out, whatever. And I've been saying that for years now. Like, but I saw it beforehand because I actually watched the movie and like I paid attention, and I'm such a diehard Star Wars fan that it's like I get what they're doing. They got to fill in that background, right? But you couldn't go and tell the story 5 years after Return of the Jedi in the movies because everybody had aged up. So now you got to go back and you got to fill in what happened. But all these people, the sequel trilogy is going to be erased. No, it's not. You're going to get definitions of why things happened. It just makes sense. You're going to get Thrawn. You're going to get all these wonderful things. And I can't wait to see Ahsoka. Man, talk about the Ahsoka series. Live action Sabine, I loved Rebels. Okay, so for live action Sabine and Thrawn and Hera is in there in that trailer,
and probably Ezra.
Ezra's going to be in there. Yeah. So I look forward to that so much. Plus, I see the connections that they're making to some legend stuff because they've done this. They had to wipe the slate clean so that they could tell a coherent story that made sense. But you look at stuff that like they're like even people who are like, I hated the Bad Batch, it sucked, whatever. But then if you watch the season finale, the last season finale of the Bad Batch, they literally go to Mount Tantus on Wayland, right on the planet Wayland. They take all the cloning stuff from Camino. And that's the whole last episode. They shut it all down on Camino and they take it all to this planet, Wayland, and to this big mountain facility called Mount Tantus. Well, I don't know. That's pretty exciting to me because when you read the original Thrawn trilogy back in the early 90s, guess what? Grand Admiral Thrawn goes to the planet Wayland to Mount Tantus, which is where the Emperor was storing his special projects, which was guarded by a crazy clone of a Jedi Master named Joruus C'baoth. Like, huh?
Huh?
Wow!
It's like they researcch their shit,
right?
Well, it's just like how, and you know, even in this last
but Bad Batch sucked.
Even in this last episode of Obi-Wan, they like killed two birds with one stone. You reference Quinlan Vos again, right? You reference him again, and then the poll that I didn't even realize. We now, and whether they make it official or not, it's like, okay, now I get why Leia named her son Ben.
Yeah,
I love that. That hits.
You know what I mean?
After that
It
first
does
episode,
hit very hard.
Yeah, and I know people go, "Oh, well, when she gives that message to R2D2, what is she?" She's giving in my head, this is where you can always have fun. She's giving a formal message to somebody sending a message. She's not going to be like, "Hey, Ben, you remember me?" It's like, no, you served my dad in the Clone Wars. This is a mission, everything like that. And yeah, that because to me, I'm a huge. I've said this before, huge fan of the Kylo Ren character. But that I always remember that moment when he goes on the catwalk and Han Solo just yells Ben, just like, oh my God, they named their kid Ben. And now it has like even more meaning of this guy that helped them out, save Leia. It has so much more meaning and it's so much more tragic too, to think of like what Ben Solo becomes of like, he has the name Solo, he has the name Ben, and he's a Skywalker. And then all this bad stuff happens to him. And I have problems with some of the way it goes, but again, it kind of colors in some things that makes it enriches that even more. So when I get to that moment again in Force Awakens, which I watched before Obi-Wan, I can't wait for that because it's even better. And that's the best things you want is to kind of just you layer out that franchise, that lineage, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, one of the things that I was like, I mean, to be honest, like Rise of Skywalker, like some of my favorite parts is when Ben goes, "Oh wait, I should be a good guy." Yeah. And those were like, oh man, when he like fucking when he
don't
grabs
get me started,
that,
Dave.
And then he does the whole like, and it's like, oh dude, that's your dad. When he goes like, yep, it's time to go on. And I'm like, God damn it, we couldn't get a full movie of this. I was like, we're just gonna get this. I'm like, I mean, I'm loving this. I'm like, I wish we had a full movie of good Ben. Can you imagine like a Ben Solo who has a blaster and a fucking sky,
there was a
saber like right there on both sides of his legs, like just holstered.
There was a viral video. There was a viral video going around these young girls when it happened, and it's like a screening, and people are excited. And when Ben Solo dies, like they shriek and everything like that. Yeah. That was me in the crowd because I was somebody. I have no problem saying I was a big Reylo shipper. So imagine the journey I went on in that movie because the whole I think it really started as like a joke at Geek First, like oh no, like in Force Awakens, like they're in love and stuff. But then we get to Rise of Skywalker, and I'm all in for it. I'm like, let's do this, you know. They kiss, and I'm like, oh my God. And then he literally killed over. I was like, what the fuck is going on now? And then he just died. And the thing is, like, he disappeared. I'm like, oh, well, at least we might get him as a Force Ghost. Didn't even get that. And I hated the argument. Everyone would always tell me, like, oh, well, they probably killed him off because I don't think Adam Driver wants to do these movies anymore. Yeah, but look what happened with Harrison Ford. You talked to him after Return of the Jedi. He was done, right? He didn't want to do anything.
In Empire. He wanted to get killed in Empire.
He was done at the second movie. But then years later it happened. So to me, there's no way you could have told me of like if that was, and this is just like speculation, but if that was actually Lucasfilm thinking of like, well, we don't think we get Driver back, so let's kill him off. Oh my God, that would hurt my soul so much because all you could do with that character too is, hey, you're alive, but you did a lot of bad shit. You're going to exile. You're going on a planet for years. You can be Ben Solo, but you're by yourself. But then it's like Barbossa in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like, well, when we need you, we're going to have to, we don't trust you at all. You're a bad person. So, and this is all just me like theory crafting and stuff, but it is that thing where I hated that they did the kind of just Vader ending with him, that he did turn good and died again. I thought there was potential to, even if he was just in space jail, if he was like, you know what, I did a lot of bad stuff. I can't be free. And even then I loved the idea of, because I know people, they were mad about Rey falling in love with this, potential terrorist, right? And my spin was always like, imagine the stakes or the feeling of that of, yeah, she falls in love with this dude and she has to come back to Finn and Poe and kind of explain like, oh yeah, like I've fallen for him. And just like the weight of, but think of everything he's done, like how, and what character work you could do with Rey, thinking about like, yeah, what type of person are you? You want to do all these good things, but you're kind of falling for this person he's killed his own father, he's killed millions of people, and there's so much stuff they could have died into. But the thing is that I hate is Ben Solo dies, and no one ever knows this kiss happens. No one ever knows the connection they had, so Rey never has to kind of explain her actions like, oh yeah, I did have feelings for this guy. And that's why I just thought that the ending of Rise of Skywalker, there's things I like in it. I just thought it went more, okay, we're just doing Return of the Jedi again. And I thought it was more egregious than Force Awakens. Than
I agree with that. I agree with that because, you know, like the only thing that really pissed me off was JJ trying to say that like that kiss was not a romantic kiss.
Friendly. Yeah, it was like they're using tongue. I've never kissed a friend with tongue.
It was like a familial kiss or whatever. And I'm like,
it was built up. It was, yeah. It was.
Look, I got two sisters. And we had a very loving home, right? And look, you know what? My sisters will still kiss me on the mouth. And I know to some people that may seem weird, but it's not like a
peck.
Kiss.
It's
like it's a little peck, right? You know, it's just like, and my grandma, you know, she would kiss me and stuff like, but that kiss. No, that is not a familial kiss. If that's your family, if that's how your family kisses, you probably got something else. But like my thing about Ben was that I was of the mind I really wanted him to be the tragedy of the Skywalkers, where Anakin had fallen to the dark side, but he was redeemed in the end, right? Like, just like you're saying, like, I did not want to see that same thing just play out because I didn't feel like when they did it, I was okay with it because I liked seeing him as light side Ben, you know, in the end, you know, I kind of liked it. Yeah, it was fun, you know, cool whatever. Moments, it was a couple cool moments. But in the same token, like, I didn't feel like they did that redemption arc as anywhere close to what Vader had. And it just kind of felt like, oh, okay, so yeah, he was a bad guy and now he's good again. And he's trying to make up for it. And, you know, okay, that's great. You know, like I wasn't mad at it, but at the same time, like I guess I had always hoped in my own head canon, right, going into it, and kind of like before I saw what they were actually doing, was like, nah, man. To have him be like that one guy, right? Because like that's how I felt like they were setting it up. Because all of his anger and his frustration and all that stuff, you know, just like wanting to go after Luke and everything, just like to get him to that moment where it's just like, no, I cannot be reasoned with. No, I am not going to be talked down out of this. I don't care if I lose my life. I don't care what happens, man. I'm going down with the ship. I refuse to give into this. I am going to be the bad guy. I am going to be the tragedy of the Skywalkers that is not redeemed. And go down, you know, fighting.
Well, and that's
but in the end, that's not what they did. Yeah. So, okay, right. I like to be told a story. I love it. You know, like everybody got pissed off when Snoke died. You know, in that moment, dude, my jaw was on the floor, and I loved it. Shut up, William. Listen.
Every time I forget that you guys know, I'm like, wow, who's this dick coming?
Hey, William. William. At least I can still live on my own and like take care of myself. I mean, like I know that you have somebody even typing right now for you because you can't press that super chat button, man. Like, so look, will you tell your nurse to make sure and not spend not too much of your Social Security check on super chats. I love Dave, but you know, I hate to see like an old man's money just, you know, go to super chats. You can insult me to my face. You don't need
the grandkids need some of it, you know. They need something. But no, and that was what was so fun with like Last Jedi. I did love the Snoke thing happening because it was such a big theater moment, and that's where I was always surprised where they that's why I love that they did the Vader thing in Last Jedi where, oh, he's turning good, but it was a flip of, oh no, he's not that type of Skywalker. And I always love that he's looking at Rey and it's like longingly, but then when he sees that throne, it's that turn of like, oh no, like that's what I want. And between him getting rid of Luke, and I thought it was so symbolic when they had this Force connection the whole movie in Last Jedi, the last shot of them together is there's that door and it goes down. And to me that was like, okay, he had his like last chance where maybe he could go and fix this, and he didn't. And then I think that's what people have talked about this for generations. It feels like generations now, but years, as far as the switch off between Ryan and JJ, where JJ didn't want to go that route, and it is fine. But then when you watch them back to back, it is kind of, because that's what I'm doing right now with my kids, which is great because I had the best experience with my oldest daughter, who when we watched Force Awakens and she ignited the lightsaber, she turned to me and said, "Oh, I want to be a Star Wars character for Halloween." And I was like, "Oh man, this is the best stuff." So watching all this stuff with my kids, it could be the shittiest movie. Like, I watched Spider-Man 3 with my kids, and it was their end game. It was great. Like, oh, Venom's in this. Like, for their mind, they're blown because it's like Venom, Sandman, Spider-Man. Like, all this stuff is happening for them the first time.
Got to be the first time that sentence has ever been uttered.
Sorry, William. Sorry, William. Sorry, William. I know. I will definitely take fashion sense from the guy who owns like nothing but a Shazam shirt.
But that's the best thing with like even Star Wars
or a
and
Home
that,
Depot
where
shirt.
Right.
Watching Spider-Man 3 with like a 4-year-old, it makes it all better. So that's where it's like same thing. Watching these movies, I go, okay, does Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker? At the time, it did not feel the smoothest transition, but now it's just kind of like, okay, well, it is what it is. There's things I like about it. I'm happy they're there, and I hope that, again, I don't know, probably not Ben Solo and whatnot, but I hope I see a Rey in the future, and I hope we get a Clone Wars like animated series one day where we get a Han, Luke, and Leia stories about what happened.
But Travis, we have to fight. We have to fight to end this tyranny, man, because it's not what we liked and wanted, and
it's not what George wanted.
And if you just accept it, just lay down, you're a shill.
Oh, that's and just copy and paste. It rinse and repeat for every fan base, whatever. We have to fight for whatever in the DC fandom. We have to fight for Gene's vision in the Star Trek.
Dude, but there's so much good stuff. Like you said with like Strange New Worlds, man. Tiffany is watching that with me, and like I love that because Tiffany hasn't watched, like, I haven't really watched, too many Star Trek shows that come out. Like as far as like the newer stuff, like I haven't watched Discovery. I did watch Picard, and I actually liked Picard. I love Lower Decks. Tiffany's watched Lower Decks with me, and stuff. But and like Tiffany knows some of the lore of Star Trek, but she didn't watch the shows like really religiously, and so I love the fact that she's watching Strange New Worlds and she loves it, and I love it, and it's amazing, and just look, there's so many good things that we could be happy about. Why? It's not negating the fact that things aren't perfect just because you don't bitch about it all day long.
No,
you know what I mean?
I've been a Trekkie. I've literally for 30 years since I was 9, right? And so like when it comes to, I went through this with the Kelvin timeline movies. I'm going through this now with the Paramount Plus stuff. I have always looked at it as like I had family. I still cannot get family members to watch the original series or TNG or even DS9, right? But they saw all the Kelvin timeline movies in the theater, and now like Shonda and others are like watching the Paramount Plus stuff. So now it's a point where it's like someone's like, "Hey Ray, where should I start?" It's like, you know what? Honestly, you could start here. Get into it here. Like I look at it as a fan, like. For years, I was the kid that got teased for like having a Star Trek encyclopedia for like bringing one to school, and now it's like it's there's a wider base for it. It is the cool thing, especially dude. We're literally at a point now where like between Discovery and Lower Decks, which is amazing. What Mike McMahon's done with that show is incredible, and with Picard and now with Strange New Worlds, it's like. Star Trek is more alive now than it arguably has ever been, like as a franchise. And how can I be mad? How can I be upset about that? How can I like look at that and go, oh well, they've ruined this and they've ruined that? No, they're opening. There are people who were never thought to think. People probably still would never watch original series or like TNG or anything like that. That have seen every episode of Discovery and love Michael Burnham and love what they were doing, and they've gone to Strange New Worlds and they love all like. How can you be upset at that? It's the same with like any of it, like the Star Wars fans. There are Star Wars fans that came into this franchise through the sequel trilogy and are watching all the Disney Plus shows. How can you be upset at that? People that are coming in to the franchise now, like how is that a bad thing? It is.
Those are my kids you're describing, Ray. That's what we're watching. Bad Batch, and we're watching. They've watched the original trilogy, but because with the new trilogy looking a bit more spruce and like day and age, they connect to that. Even my daughter like connecting because Ray's the main character. So for them,
and here's what's going to happen, Travis, because I went through this like. The people who like a couple years ago I realized that there were like a ton of prequel defenders that just all of a sudden showed up, and I came to the realization that what it was all the kids that got into Star Wars through the prequels are now grown up.
Yeah.
And now
yeah.
when they
That
now
was-
when they
that was
see
almost 20
slander,
years ago. That was 20 years ago.
so,
Yeah.
so now when they see somebody slamming Hayden or Ahmed Best, they come like with the fire, right?
Yes.
So in 15, 20 years, your kids are going to
Thank
be
you.
the Ray defenders and the Finn defenders and the Poe defenders.
It'll never happen.
It's coming. It's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
No, dude, you know, you just reminded me of, I forgot. I was talking with a kid because I just recently started substitute teaching, and I was talking with this sixth grade girl because one of the things that I did was, since it's the end of the year and I'm a sub, I have, you know, they have less like assignments that they have to do, you know, during their, so like I've used it as an opportunity to talk to them about me and let them get to know me because I'm coming back next year, and then also I go around the class and get to know each one of them, you know. And so I was talking to this sixth grade girl, I think it was sixth or seventh grade girl today, and she mentioned the fact that she was a huge Star Wars fan. Right. And so I went up to her and I said, okay. I said, well, which movie is your favorite? And she goes, I haven't watched a lot of the old ones. She goes, I'm trying to watch them all and I really like them all, but I really like the ones with Rey because I can relate to it. And it put a smile on my face because, like, that's the most innocent you can possibly be, is like, hey, I'm just learning about Star Wars. I have none of this weird attachment to stuff, or that it's got to be my way, or, you know, whatever. I'm just watching these movies with eyes of, with non-judgmental eyes, and just seeing, do I like it or not?
You know what? That you can actually do a correlation to music with that, because I've always like you know, I'm a big Metallica fan, and I'll talk about like, if I approach somebody who's like, wearing a Metallica shirt or something like that, and you know, you're like, what's your favorite album? And they go the Black Album. I go, you know, I'm like, really? Yeah. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's when they got introduced to Metallica. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That was their most big time mainstream album, and they got introduced, and it's like, all right. Instead of
right.
I just choked on spit.
Now, if they say load and reload, then I just no.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, like, all right, so hey, you've been introduced. It's like, all right, instead of just going scoffing and being like, whatever the fuck, take the time and go to the previous albums or whatever. And that could apply to any band, you know, any band that had longevity.
Music in general, Dave, because I think, okay, so like you bring up the Black Album, right? So like when I first started playing guitar, I knew about Metallica's older stuff, but like that was when that album was really big. And so I learned like the entire Black Album, right? Yeah. And that was like my first, like, but like I was also learning like, you know, Fade to Black and, you know, Master of Puppets, you know, like all that stuff. But like some of it was beyond me. Right. But I still loved Metallica. So it was nice to be able to learn some of the, you know, like an easy riff like Enter Sandman, or, you know, or whatever, just to be able to like accomplish something to cut my teeth so that I got, you know, deeper into it. And then, hey, learned, you know, how do I play Master of Puppets? You know, like, you know, all those things. But exactly. I say it about music in general, because like I think about before I was a musician, before I picked up a guitar at 15, I listened to music completely different. Right. I didn't know how different sounds were made. I didn't even know what instruments were even being used. You know, like I just knew it sounded cool. I would listen to something like, did that sound cool? Yes. Right. And there's those times where I wish I could go back and have that innocence again, to just like not listen to it and go, okay, I know what they're doing here. You know what I mean? I know how they're doing this, how they're making this, how they're producing this, you know, because I've recorded and I've done all these things. So it's like, I know how it's all being done. To just be able to listen or watch something again for the first time and just enjoy it. Actually, and it's funny you say this, because when we were on our way to go see The Force Awakens, my best friend, Aaron, who's the drummer of my band, we were on our way. We were all driving separate cars from where we were coming from. And he called me, and like they were up in front of us or somewhere like that, or we were in front of them on our way to the theater. And he said to me, dude, we're going to see Star Wars. Now, mind you, he's 13 years younger than me. He was born in 89, but he's such a huge Star Wars fan, him and his wife now. And he says to me, dude, we're going to see Star Wars in the theater, and we're going to see episode 7, right? Something that nobody ever thought we were ever going to see. Like,
Right.
you know, and he said, look, no matter how good or how bad it is, he made a couple of really funny statements. And I got some of them on a video that I had on the channel, that I have on the channel, because he said, first of all, he says, we're never going to experience this kind of rush and this kind of emotion with Star Wars again, because they'll make Star Wars stuff now. He's like, we're not going to have that gap where like we thought episode 3 was the last thing that we were ever going to get. Right. And so there was that.
Absolutely true, man.
And so he said that, and
Remember
he says,
that buzz?
oh my gosh. And it was just like, he said that and it hit me, and he's like, we have to, like, he actually stopped and he's like, we have to enjoy this moment. We have to bathe in this moment, because in an hour, that moment's going to be gone.
That's crazy to think about.
And I was like, dude, that is so deep. And then we were getting ready to walk in. He goes, and right now, all of our heroes are alive.
Right.
We have no idea what's on the other side. And it's like,
I mean, with the buzz about that, I remember when episode 7, it was just episode 7. There was not a title yet.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the buzz all behind that, it was like, it was insane. And then I saw it, you know, the opening night at the Chinese theater in LA, man. Talk about just,
my gosh,
dude, you don't even know what the vibe was like. I mean, it was insane.
Dude.
It was a fucking party. Everybody was dressed up. I mean, I'm just wearing like a Star Wars shirt. There are people dressed to the nines as characters all over the place. Wow. And just to watch that in that theater, that old theater, that's like that legendary theater, and just how many times that, I mean, my hands probably hurt because they're just clapping and cheering and just everything like that. It was, yeah, there's something about that buzz that, yeah. It's
See,
just,
and that's why there's a couple months ago, I remember Steven was bringing up, and I was like very quiet. That's why I still don't actually mind when people cheer in my theaters for anything I'm watching, to be honest, because it's like, it's a lightning in a bottle. And I know there's the level of like Captain America, but like, and it's definitely a nostril appreciation. I love professional wrestling. So anytime there's a pop,
sorry, I don't mean
Unforgiven for me too.
Better than,
and that's just like, I'm conditioned to that, because like WrestleMania, I went to WrestleMania in 2021, so I can't remember when it was, 2005, and being in a crowd when you're around like 80,000 people and you hear that excitement. So for me, that's where it's like, I can never be like a Force Awakens or like even something like Endgame was a few years ago. But when we get those little moments, that's why I know at home, I still love it. I love when I'm in a theater and people are cheering, and I have no problems whatsoever. I like it all the time, because it's just like, I know people are happy, and that gets me happy. When people are gasping and stuff like that, it's just like that. Those moments are great, because you're gonna walk out of the theater, and whenever you watch that movie again, it's probably not gonna feel that way. I love Force Awakens. It's one of my favorites. I think I still have it ranked above I always go back and forth with Return of the Jedi if it cracks that, but that night was so special. But that's why, yeah, I'm still a sucker for people cheering. I like it. I like the clapping. I like the hooter hollering. And that's why I wish I lived in some of your guys' crowd in Canada. We're very nice. Oh yes. There's sometimes like people do get fired up. Don't get me wrong, but when I see the crowds, like, man, I want to be in that crowd right there where it's cheering, and then it's reverse where people complain like, I can't hear. It's like, I want to be there. So, but
yeah. No, it's crazy. I mean, we're when it comes to things that, I mean, even with Top Gun Maverick, I mean, there was cheering and clapping and stuff like that. I mean, it's the movie going experience, and hopefully it continues on. And I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy where we are right now. And there's like I said, there's so much Star Wars right now, and I'm loving it. We're all loving it. There's when it comes to what's happening with the DC and all that stuff, yeah, we can just be like, all right, we'll just be patient, guys. That's all it really is. And when it comes to the Flash, I can't just be on the side of like, nah, F this movie. I'm really excited for the movie. I can't help but not to be excited, just with all the information people I've talked to and all this stuff. And then, like, yes, I know it's been cursed, and Ezra Miller situation's been bad, but hopefully that will get better, which hopefully, we can get a little bit more information when it comes to that. But I mean, it's just it's a good time to be a nerd. It really is.
Think about this. Think about it.
Stuff that's just coming in, and you don't have to like it all. And I don't, I don't like every little bit of it. Of course not, and I'll say like, hey, guess what? I didn't like it. Not for me, but of course there's always going to be that niche or that negative side that this over here, that's always going to be like, screw this is horrible. This is that. And they're all going to, it's always going to be there. But, as long as we can all embrace the fact that, hey, people are just enjoying what we're getting.
Yeah. Don't let any bad review or somebody else's opinion discourage you, because here's the thing, man, is look, somebody's there's a guy that we stream with every once in a while. His name is the Gold Man. He's a huge Star Wars fan, really good guy. Like, I really love his content. But he said something once, and I tell you, it still sticks with me, man. And he's a college kid, but like, he said, look, somebody's least favorite Star Wars movie is somebody's favorite Star Wars movie.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Right. So look, I'm at an age now, guys, where I realize something. If I really like something, it's probably going to be, I've noticed this last couple of years, that it's not the popular thing and a lot of people don't like it. Or if I don't like something, it's probably going to be the opposite, and like a lot of people are going to like it. But I don't allow a tomato meter, right, to dictate.
I don't even like tomatoes.
Right, what I think of a movie or a TV show or whatever. And I don't look, if somebody else goes and sees something and they didn't like it and they come back and tell me, yeah, it sucks, Enosh, you're going to hate it. Well, you don't know that, because there's a lot of stuff, man, that I don't agree with you who are telling me this, that you like that I don't like, or vice versa. So I go see things for myself. You mean you actually go see stuff that like it sucks? Yeah, I went and saw Morbius, man. And you know what? There were parts of it that I was just like, okay, this makes no sense. And there were parts of it like, hey, you know what? It's okay, But just don't let people sway you.
Yeah.
From giving something a chance. At least give something a chance. That's what I find. Like, is everything going to live up to this standard that like we think that it's brilliant? No, every movie does not have to be 5-star. You know what I mean? Like, every movie doesn't have to be, brilliance and genius. Sometimes you just go to a movie and you go, hey, that was fun.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's Snake Eyes, which Snake Eyes is absolute gutter trash. Garbage.
I didn't even watch it. But
I still haven't seen it yet either.
Yeah, look, it's the only movie that I literally took out my phone and started making notes, because I realized I was not going to remember all the things that I had to say about the film as it went along. And then I made a 50-minute review that I literally said why this is absolute trash. Like, it's not like, I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan, and I'm like, look, anybody who's just like, well, I don't like it because he's Asian. Okay, you know what? That's the least of the issues that are with Snake Eyes, man. It's bait and switch. It's a horrible film. It doesn't make any sense. It's not even a good. I've heard people say, well, it's a good, martial arts movie. No, it's not.
But it's someone's
somebody likes it.
G.I. Joe
somebody likes
Snake Eyes every weekend, being like, fuck yeah, I love Snake Eyes.
I love this movie. Look at how
I have not met them yet. I will say that, Ray. I have not met or was it Travis who said that? I have not met that person yet or heard that person say that, but I'm sure somewhere out there there's this.
There's somewhere out there, you know what? That's a good note to go out on. There's someone out there that does like the thing that you hate the most, Yeah. And I mean, the fact that matters is always going to be that negativity, and just, we got to try to flush it out. Yes, we can comment on it, but at the same time, I just love the fact that we could do something like this where we can all discuss. Do we all agree on everything? No. That's the way it is.
I just met Mark Pillow and Mariel Hemingway.
Wow.
From Superman 4, right? Nuclear Man, right? I met Nuclear Man, right? And I met Mark McClure. I met Mark McClure at the Motor City Comic Con, which was amazing. He was in the Snyder cut, by the way. But I met him, and I went to the Comic Con wearing a Nuclear Man t-shirt. right? And it was awesome because I was literally walking by and Mark Pillow sees me. There wasn't many people there, and Mark Pillow sees me, and he's just like, and he's like waving me over, right? So I go over there and like he's talking to me and everything, and then Mariel Hemingway is standing right there, and like they're just loving it, and we're talking, and they actually had the Nuclear Man like costume from the movie there, right?
Oh my god, that's so
and I'm just like, okay, that's cool, right? And it's a horrible movie, but like, look, it's a guilty pleasure. And this lady who helps organize all the Superman alumni people who were there comes running over to me. It was the most insane thing. She's running. She's like, "Oh my god, you are wearing the shirt!" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "No, awesome. You don't understand." She goes, "You don't understand. As long as we've been doing this, nobody has ever walked through with a Nuclear Man t-shirt on." She goes, "I want a picture of you with the costume. Somewhere there's a lady who organizes all the Superman people who has a picture of me on her phone, like, and it was funny because she took the picture, and then I'm like, "Hey, can I get a picture too?" And like, first the guy didn't know what I was talking about. He thought that I wanted a free picture like with Mariel Hemingway. And I'm like, "No, I just want the picture with the costume." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you could do that." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, because like she got to take a picture of me, like, you know, like, am I going to charge her $40? Like, I don't know." But you know, but no, I mean, you know, that was just awesome. And I got this awesome picture with like, with all them, like, along with the kid from Superman 4. Remember the kid who's like, "I'll tell you who I'd write to do some good." Yeah. Superman, right? That kid was there, and he still looks like he's 12. He's about 4'9". And Aaron Smolinski, who was baby Superman in Superman the movie, right? Yes. He's good friends with Henry. He was in Man of Steel. He's good friends with Henry Cavill. Right. He's actually going to be. He's going to be on the channel. Like I'm so excited. Like he's going to be on the channel. We've been talking. Nice. And Non. You know, what's his name? Jack O'Halloran was there. Like and then we've already talked with Sarah Douglas, and she actually did a thing for the channel like a few years ago when she was there. But we got like all of them in the picture with me, Tiffany, and Landon, and that's like it was an awesome. Plus, I met William Shatner. But you know, like it was an awesome weekend. I just got to say that. But like you know, but the thing is, like I was sitting there. It's like, yes, do I love the Snyder stuff? Absolutely, because you know what, it's where I'm at now as an adult, that like this is what I want to see. I like the more realistic take on these characters, and especially Superman. But man, it's like a bowl of frosted mini wheats, right? The adult in me likes the Zack Snyder turn on Superman.
Yeah, and the healthy part of the side of the
the kid in me is like geeking out that I'm like with half the cast of Superman 4, you know, like I just, you know,
dude, I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, man, Nuclear Man, I would watch that and be like, oh my God, look at that. They're fighting in space. And he like has these nails and he's freaking, you know, it's just, my God. Yeah. I loved that when I was a kid. I watch it now. Oh, wow. That's really bad. But I still have the kid inside me goes, what are you talking about? That's fucking fantastic. That's awesome. That was your childhood right there. There's like, I love it when I can revisit movies that are like so bad, but I could just have a guilty, like I said, guilty pleasure. It's a guilty pleasure where you're just gonna go, my God, when I was a kid, this was my fucking, you know, Man of Steel right here, or you know, this was my whatever the hell.
Right. And yes, Carrie, not only is Mariel Hemingway still alive, but she is gorgeous still. Let me tell you, I shared a funny story with her because when I was in 6th grade, my teacher wheeled out, you know, the TV and the VCR.
Oh yeah,
those days, right? So she wheels that out, and there's a movie that she was in with Peter O'Toole called Creator, where Peter O'Toole plays this like old professor whose wife dies of cancer, and he tries to clone her, and Mariel Hemingway was like really young. And she's like this girl, she's like doing something to help him, whatever. And but they're on this college campus, and there's this whole scene. And I prefaced it to her. I said, look, I got to tell you this. I said, please just hear me out. I know this is going to sound weird, but just hear me out. And so she's like, okay. And I said, so I'm 6th grade. So like, we're like 11, 12 years old, whatever. And I said, you know, we get the VCR out and we're like, awesome. We're going to watch this movie. And they brought out Creator, and her eyes get about this big. And she goes, okay. And I'm like, yeah, because see, in that scene, there's a couple other questionable scenes too, but the one that really sticks out in my mind was they're playing football at the college, like just, like out in the yard or whatever. And so they're playing like flag football. And so Mariel's got this like little crop top, right? One of those like little sweatshirt crop top things from the 80s, And so this guy, the jerk of the movie is like guarding her. So he's like all over her, right? Like he's grabbing her and stuff, like just kind of tossing her around. And it comes down to the last minute and they need to score a touchdown. And she's like, she gets in the huddle. She's like, just throw me the ball. I'm going to get open. Just throw me the ball. And they're like, we're not throwing you the ball. Like he's all over. He's all hands. There's no way you're going to get free. She goes, just trust me. And so they line up at the line of scrimmage and she calls out his name. And the guy looks up and goes, what, baby? And she just goes,
yeah, just slips up.
And they're just there. And like, he's just left in,
yeah.
Right. And she runs and she scores a touchdown. And she thought that was so hilarious. Like she started laughing her butt off. She goes, that is the most awesome story. Thank you for telling me that. She's like, that was awesome. And she's like telling me other like kind of like funny, inappropriate stories like that about her and stuff. But like it was like you said, it's just one of those, look, even the dreaded Batman and Robin.
Oh God damn! I could.
It's good for a laugh, man. It's good for.
If I ever talked to George Clooney or even Chris O'Donnell, it would just be like a pleasant conversation of like,
yes,
wow, like I mean, and they would probably there'd be jokes, there'd be all kinds of stuff. I mean, there with everything that's come out, like when it comes to this shit that's bad, there's always just a good conversation that could come out of this, and that's one of the things that's like, man. I mean, we could have an entire stream talking about Batman and Robin. And maybe one of these days we will. Maybe there'll be a live watch. I've done live watches of all the Batmans, not Batman and Robin yet. So maybe we're due for that, and we'll see what happens. But I mean, my God, there's always there's always a conversation to be had about anything that like people deem that is terrible. But like Batman Forever is deemed terrible, but I hold it. It's a special place in my heart. I always say to me, it's better than Batman Returns in my eyes. I'm not saying it's just because of quality or anything like that. No, it's just because just going back to, my childhood and younger and back in the 90s and totally just loving that movie. So, but anyways,
enjoy it. Just enjoy stuff.
Just enjoy stuff. That's what we're going to end on right here. We're going to totally end on this. This has been a great vodka stream as per usual. And we thank you guys for sticking with us. Thank you to the panel. And we'll go around the horn right here as we promote our stuff. First off, Lex Luthor. Travis over here, with your, sorry.
Yeah,
my mistake.
Superman 5 and take him out, but no, this was tons of fun. I was glad to be here for the whole time because last I was here, I had the KC problem where my router went out. So
your router went out, yeah.
yeah. So no, this was tons of fun. I was happy to be back and happy to talk to all you guys. Talk to KC. Finally, Travis B. Snell. I'm talking on some sort of podcast or sharing something on Twitter. Who knows? Who knows what I'm doing? But yeah, this was tons of fun as always.
There you go. All right, Ray.
On Twitter at The Flightcast. You can find my podcast and my blog at theflightcast.com. This week's been a little topsy-turvy because of my new / old work schedule because I got my old job back at the TV station. So I'm like figuring crap out. But at some point this weekend, I am totally breaking down that rap article because there was a lot of stuff to talk about with respect to the future of what I really hope ends up being DC Studios because it's time for DC Studios.
I think we all, and then Enosh, which of course Powell just right here just goes, oh, we ain't going 4 hours because of the old guy. I know.
Listen, Powell, I have the power.
Yes, I was about to say, just raise that up over your head and let the lightning strike it.
Yes,
and just yell that out.
Well, my name is Enosh over at Poindexter Lounge. We'd love to have you guys come over and join us because we're a place for nerds. And a little something that I've been doing since Tiffany bought me this book. I think it's very fitting. This is The Little Guide to Betty White. It's a bunch of quotes by Betty White. It's awesome. I've been doing this as a regular segment now on the show for a little while. And I will just leave you with this, my last thought here. This is from Parade Magazine, October 31st of 2010. I don't understand how people can get so anti-something. Mind your own business. Take care of your affairs and don't worry about other people so much.
Nice.
I thought
Betty
you were gonna-
White.
I thought you were gonna say the Betty White quote from
Yeah.
a few years ago when she says, "If you like snake eyes, you can fuck off." Yeah, that was a good one.
I like that one too. I like that one too. That one was great. That was great. I think that was one of her last. Like,
Yeah,
she was like on her
last
deathbed.
one? Yeah.
Like she's gone. No, F Snake Eyes the movie.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Oh. All right, guys. Make sure you smash that like, thumbs up before you leave. Subscribe to the channel. All the links are provided down below to the Patreon, to all the stuff. If you want to join, become a member, do all that stuff. And thank you to KC. Hopefully, he's gets his power back and everything. We hope for that. And thank you, Travis. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Enosh. This has been fun, and we will talk to you guys later.